Well, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Zwift Community Live broadcast of the WTRL Zwift Racing League, the community side of things. This morning we had the APAC. Now we have the region for the EMEA, Europe, Middle East, and Africa. We'll be covering the East, the West for men's and the women's in Division 1. I'm Nathan Guerra Dave Towle. Next to me, straight back out of the Wild West. At least it's what it seemed like when he covered the Nations Challenge results. It was great to see. And Dave, in front of us, though, we've got Harrogate. I raced this in reverse last week in the WTRL team time trial. It's a monster of a course. We got to jump right into it because the men are right on course right now. But this is a really, really lumpy profile. I got you, Mike. I think you might have muted yourself there, Dave.
I apologize there. Yeah, it's super. This course is as challenging as the everything bagel, I would say. The quality of this field, the quality of this course is going to find a winner that has really, really earned it out here. So as you said, they're not locked and loaded. They're actually out and racing. It's not going to be a long day. And thanks again to everybody who's taken part in the ZRL. This is our final points race. So race 9 underway here. 28K. This is going to be a dandy, Nathan.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Now, we do some attacks early on. We do not want to miss those at all. Cover as much of the racing as we possibly can. They're going to get right on into some climbing right from the get-go. We do have WZ World Elite Zwifters leading things out over that initial climb. The profile here, I'm just going to give you guys a quick little look at what this profile exactly is like, because to give you an idea, there's a lot of climbing out here today. You've got a total of 480 meters, but it's very punchy. You know, it's not some sort of like big mountain route or anything like that, but very punchy. And as you can see, that initial climb right from the get-go, steady 5, 6, 7, 8% gradient from the get-go. This WZ rider now moving backwards pretty quickly, and that's one of the dangers with these sections of course. Kirchmer at the back as well, as you can see there. So the reality of how these groups can quickly roll away from you, and if you're not careful with finding a wheel and be in the right place at the right time, you can put out some extra energy you weren't planning on. As you do see DeMay there, I think it's exactly what had happened to him. But those are the points out on course right now. The KOM and the sprints, twice each lap. This is 2 laps out here, 27.4K total. One very big danger point. There isn't really much of a kick before, but there is that negative up. I think it's up to about 17% gradient. You get sharp descent that goes right over into the pastures. There is a kick after it, though, with a lot of speed. Sometimes you could see riders fall off there, but then at that point, really, the king of the mountain, it's going to be an all-out brawl to the top for the sprint, for the points, and then the sprint as well as immediately after that. Then we're right back into the rolling hill that we just saw them leave. So that's the situation out here for the Harrogate forward. Going to be a battle out here, Dave.
Yeah, this is the 2019 World's Road Course, but a much more complicated race that we have here on Zwift, because there it was really you start and then the first man over the line was going to be world champion or woman. Here it's going to be a points race today. As Nathan highlighted, the pinch points there where the distribution of those points will be happening. Let's talk very quickly about how we got here. So in this league, as we mentioned, we're working our way around the globe as we pick up in Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. This is the East. We'll be heading over to the West a little over an hour and a half from now. That racing will be underway. So this points-based format works all the way from the bonus sprints into the final on the day. All of the team's points are added together, and then we sorted out 20 points for the best team down 1 point declining order, 19, 18 for third. So that being said, we're into the 9th of 10 races here. So things have really sorted themselves out. The cream has risen to the top, as they say. And Nathan, these riders at this point know each other incredibly well. On any given day, there are hundreds of races on Zwift. They're all a little bit different. All different kinds of formats, and the organization has every right in the world to try to create and craft a bespoke race, something unique. Well, here in the ZRL, one of the real benefits is the quality of the competition, Nathan. We have the best riders from around the world. We just wrapped up the Premier League last week. The community leagues, though, had a bonus 2 weeks of racing that'll take us right into the deep end of the holidays here. So I'll throw it back to you, Nathan. These guys are racing really aggressively. You can see the splits are happening. Multiple splits happening here at the back end of the group. It's getting really ragged right now. We're only 6K in. They're already going for the jugular.
Yeah, and this is what I was talking about when it comes to speed is the name of the game when it comes to this section of the course. That downhill sharp 14, 15, even I think it's up to 17 perhaps percent gradient could catch some riders out. You've seen Steven Kirchner, even one of the top riders here, struggling a little bit for a moment to stay on terms. We do see a couple of riders here, BZR PSD off the back a little bit. Clay's here now from Vision, but it looks like WTRL Valentine with John here unable to hang on. Look at this. Van Geit caught out as well. That is not unusual to see. So
Wow.
definitely some big names here not able to hang on with the initial pace. They came out to race, it looks like, amongst the men here in the East because that initial climb, if riders are not warmed up and ready for it, it's long enough. I mean, it's full gas. You can get a little bit of a draft, 3% gradient at times, but it does pop up to that 5 to 6 toward the end of it. And I think some riders were not expecting the kind of effort that and the speeds up front here, and it just got caught out.
I tell you what, Nathan, if as a bike racer, when you start a race that it might take a while to figure out if you're going to have good legs today, but if you've got bad legs, right? It happens on the first climb. That message is received loud and clear up in the old noggin. So in this course, again, if you're not attentive, you're going to find yourself behind the 8 ball almost immediately out here. All of these riders at this level, again, this is the A's, have explosive power. There's no doubt. But you want to use that explosive power to win a bike race, create a breakaway, or make the race, not to recover from getting caught out behind a gap. And that's one of the worst things when you're in a group this large if you're not positioned well. Sitting in the back third of this group, one of the things that can happen is in the early going, maybe one of those other riders who has bad legs has fought through it, but on the next pitch up, they're going to let go. And if you're sitting behind them, that means you've got a gap to close yourself. So sitting up near the first third of this group is going to be imperative if you want to be successful today. And Nathan, you're right. This course just really brings it at the field here. This suits an aggressive rider, no doubt about it. This makes for the very best of racing on this platform. I love Zwift racing, and I love what we've got going on right now. As Nathan, these guys are going to be winding it up for a few point sprints along the way here.
Yeah, and here we go. We're right into the KOM. That sharp descent. The positioning here is so incredibly important as they come down that descent. The speed coming in can be carried right into the bottom of this 5-6% gradient. Now we see the power ups being thrown very early, though. It is not a short climb. It's not the climb where you really want to give everything up front unless you really think you can go from bottom to top with the kind of effort here. The riders who are sitting in a little bit probably going to get the better of this lead out. Ooms now from Volendam making his way forward, coming out of the Netherlands here. And as he puts out 492 watts there for a moment, a little bit of boost forward there coming from Lind Fusion ECT out of Denmark, 182 beats per minute now. Arts here right behind him on the wheel. Looks like they're Florent Millard now from Foudre. That's the second place team overall. We're going to get those results in here. We'll give you guys the team standings after this KOM and sprint here. To give you guys an idea of where everything is standing. But this is going to be Lind here from Fusion, really pressing the pace, but I think he's still going to be the lead out man. They're still about halfway up this climb at this point, and here comes Florent Millard from Foudre, the Frenchman, now 7.4 here, 570 watts, being followed closely by the current leader of the series. That's going to be Kirchner, the Angry Bees, now trying to set up for a sprint, Dave.
Yeah, and Kirchner, he had a race a couple of weeks ago where he swept every bonus sprint and won the race. He's one of the most dangerous riders on planet Earth today. This is going to be Florent Millard that we're looking at now. Nathan, this is really drawing out the top riders here. We're only almost 9K in here. We're going to see a dramatic split. My heart goes out to the guys at the back of this group. It's incredibly aggressive, and there goes Stefan Kirchner. The Austrian is going to take top bonification here. Let's score this sprint. These points are going to matter at the end of the day.
Yeah, and there goes Florent Millard, and then it's going to be Hebby, followed up by Ooms, and then I believe it was Martin's able to take down that fifth place. Solid kicks to the line, and take a quick little look at how that ended up playing out for that replay there. And Kirchner showing that he is the man.
He's back.
Yeah, he is definitely back here, as you can see. Solid effort here coming on through from him. Up into that 12 watts, 13 watts per kilogram kick. Florent Millard, he tried to respond. If he would have been right on the wheel, perhaps a little bit of battle, but the distance was just there. Hebby there coming on through. Ooms followed up by Martins there coming from Cryo RDT. So that was the situation for the sprint points. We'll take a look and see if we can grab some sprint points tables for you. I am being told there is there's going to be a little bit of lag on being able to bring the preems through. But by the end of the day, we will have everything tallied up. So we'll just follow along with the racing for most of the day, I think, out here today. And that's really where the action is at anyways, Dave.
Yeah, thanks, Nathan. Again, to reiterate his point there, we're going to do the best we can with what we have. The racing has been so good in the ZRL. There's no way we wanted to miss this one. And Nathan, I know a tremendous amount of excitement as we're going to take a look at the group now making the way into the middle third of this race. And that split's going to be, let's say, sub 30 riders are going to make the front group here by the time the dust settles here. World Championships, Nathan, coming up tomorrow. I know you're as excited as anybody out there. It's been a long time coming to get to this level, and I'm so excited to see our community riders, the Kolchinskis or the Vyasins, getting a chance to go up against the top World Tour riders, and I can imagine that you're about as excited as anybody on the planet right now.
Yeah, I'm extremely excited to watch tomorrow. I'm going to be sitting back, and I've got my favorites picked out, and definitely waiting to see. I might be sending a couple of messages of encouragement or even some tips on through, because this is a momentous moment, very momentous moment. So very excited to see how it's going to end up playing out. 184 here from Kirchmer, though. He's kind of being a lead-out man here. This might end up biting him a little bit as School comes on through. Eddie Yule. This is a rider here, I think, who's been waiting for this moment. 11 watts per kilogram coming from him. Here's a feather power up. Will Kirchner be able to come on through? 12 watts per kilogram. He's going to hold on with that, it looks like.
Or does he?
One last kick. There it is. Takes it down. Kirchner tried to make it happen. 190. And we actually saw a situation yesterday where there were a lot of splits through this sprint section, because this sprint section actually has a little bit of an uphill. And some riders who are just trying to get back on after the KOM, they end up struggling a little bit and get dropped from the turn of speed that comes over the top of this little bit of a climb. The sprint section ends up putting riders who were just looking to get their breakfast back down, really, at the end of the day. They end up going, okay, trash can time, and they're out the back. So what's going to happen here? It looks like able to kind of hang on. We do see one rider there in the black hit off the back. We can see it's going to be booming here, actually, coming from the WLC without Laverick out there. I think Laverick's still recovering from some sickness here. So, but good to see WLC still out there and represented, but they don't got their main man. And I think they've really been dropped off from the front group at this point.
Boy, what a journey this is going to be to the finish line here. 28 total K. We're on the UCI 2019 Worlds course. This was in Harrogate in the United Kingdom. Now, Nathan, I have this kind of racing that we're seeing right here is what I'm expecting to see in both the men's and the women's races tomorrow as well. Super aggressive. Riders will be getting dropped throughout. It's very, very rare at this level that you see such a dynamic going on out there. Things are going to settle down just a little bit here as we make our way through the middle point. I think we've separated the wheat from the chaff, if you will. And as I say that, there's another rider that might be a technical happening right there. Oile here, the Cryo RDT rider, is absolutely one of the prime suspects here if someone's going to sneak away with the win, as this is certainly a Stefan Kirkmeyer kind of day. Oh, no, that's Ooms. Oh, my.
That is not a good thing here coming in.
Bummer.
For, man, the Volendam team, strong team out
him.
here. They really did. He's been really on fire here today. We'll see if they can get back on, if he can get back on terms. It's going to be a very difficult time. Will they sit up a little bit at the front? I really doubt it. We've already seen some
Probably
attacks
not.
this climb. And as they come into this, we'll give everybody an idea of where it's at. A lot of times, one thing we really try to do, if you do not know the Zwift world very well, or the worlds in Zwift very well, you might get a little bit like, okay, city streets, where are we? The mini-map can always help you with that to give you an idea of where they're at. They're the little orange circle on the upper right hand. It's pretty small in the upper right hand in the map there, but that's where they are in the profile. But you can also see in the profile here, they're about to finish up the halfway point. As you can see that at the bottom of that dip, essentially right in the middle, they're about to start their climb, going past the pens and the start finish line in just a moment. So halfway through this graphic on screen.
They just went by the Zwift Draft House, which was where that was the hot spot of the 2019 Worlds for sure. Every day, hundreds of folks would come by. It's still
that
an
should be on the
operating
course
bar
graphic.
and pub.
We should have the Draft House on this course graphic. I mean, come on. No,
No, I completely agree. That's where I met Matt Stevens, actually. It was one of the best weeks of my life hanging out there. Cold
We have
Bath
something in
Brewery.
common. We have something in common then, I think. Not that meeting him on the UCI Worlds course, but meeting him at the brewery, I think might be the similar there.
That's
But here
there's a
Zaremba
theme.
now. There's a theme going on here. Zaremba now. Kohler, Bergen, Zwan, and Dorsch now toward the front. 5 riders. Kohler now from RDT giving a little bit of a dig. Maybe feeling the encouragement coming from chat. We do see a lot of Cryo RDT fans in chat giving them a little bit of encouragement, John. We love to see that coming on through. Let us know who your favorite riders are out here in teams. We'll keep the encouragement popping through from the socials. With 1 lap to go, who's going to take down the points? Week number 9. Here's an attack coming on. This is a good move. As you come through this section, it is a very smart section. Just set the speed at the front here. DeRoos now, maybe backing off. Maybe he found himself in a bad spot and just did one of those overshoots. You see that a lot, riders. We were working on that, actually. I did a little bit of a recon of Worlds with the 2020 team. And one of the main things that you see with riders with Zwift that aren't like really embedded in the platform or haven't maybe worked on it a ton, or maybe just a little bit of mistake there, is overshooting, because you do not have depth perception in the same way until you really get used to it in game. You've got to learn the pixels of depth perception rather than the wind, the air, and the tire right in front of your wheel as you're trying not to suck water and air into your, if it's raining. When you're out there in real life, it's a very different tactical feel, tactile feel. Whereas in game, you got to feel the pixels out, understand the speed and the data to know where to go when. So we were working on that with some of the ladies from the USA team actually over the weekend, and that overshoot is definitely one thing that you got to watch out for.
Yeah, they call it feathering it, right? When you that's the difference between just being strong or having strength and technique out there. And we talked about the gamification in Zwift. Well, there is a massive amount of gain that you can find by just being good at Zwifting. It takes a while, there's no doubt, and being coached up on it. Nathan, I'm really glad to hear you're working with the USA team. Got to give a shout out, though, to Sweden. They were amazing in the Nations Challenge. When you look at the average, Swedes are on their A game right now, Nathan.
I have a
no
feeling,
doubt about it.
I just have a feeling that it might, one of the longest standing in-game country teams with a leader like Martin Jortvik, who's been around since, because the Nations Challenge isn't about the fastest of the fastest necessarily. Not the fastest of the fastest can help everybody else. But having a good leadership, country leadership in the world of Zwift, I think probably really helped bring the cohesion together, where everybody kind of knows each other a little bit more, could follow directions a little bit more. I remember in the USA, we had a great time. We did some reconning of Worlds. There were 50 off the front I was watching, helping them out about how to do that course. But that didn't necessarily, I actually made a little bit of a joke. Well, we independence loudly, that's for sure in America, but so it was a joke, it's fun, and everybody's hammering away. Sure. And I was going through groups, pulling groups along as best as I possibly could and everything. But really, when it came down to it, you need a lot of organization from your country. And I really want to give a shout out to Team SZ, the whole, Swedish Zwifters. They really have done a great job, and they've been around for so long. And I think that really showed in their organization to play the game.
Yeah, I'm sure the rest of the world was stunned to see that there was a little bit of chaos and lack of organization coming out of the United States. So anyways, we're going to go back and pick up the action here. This is going to be ours that we're looking at on the front, World Elite Zwifters. This is going to be a strong effort from the Dutch rider right now, opening up a little bit of a gap. Now, Nathan, an attack at this point in the race isn't about, okay, I'm going to just take this matter into my own hands and go solo from here. What we're really probably looking for is a few riders to come up and join, see if you can initiate some kind of a break. And it doesn't look like anybody's going to take the bait right now. And again, another sprint's going to be coming up. You're never that far from another bonus sprint, which keeps this peloton super attentive. And they're going to make the catch. Here we go. Hit the reset button here right at we're a little past the midpoint of this race now. Two laps out on the UCI.
Sorry, Dave, but that's such a I just want to speak to what a dangerous place that is to attack. This is the second time we saw this happen to a WZ rider. Did you see that? The speed that comes on down that section, if you attack over the top, you're not going to stay away, and the whole pack comes flying by, and you actually end up having to put down a second effort just to get back on the wheels because of the kind of speed that's carried through. Knowing courses, knowing when to put the power out, it's so incredibly important. You have to know the meta of the course.
That's the perfect place to attack yourself right out of the back end of the group.
Yeah, 100%. You know, and real quickly, I do have a question coming on through from chat here. David Nadoli saying, are no pros in this race? So it's a little bit different in Zwift, and I'll make a quick comment, and then Dave can maybe come in here. But in Zwift, in this community league, you may see pros actually from in real life racing, maybe from the track or from mountain biking, from the road, that may be involved here at this level, getting involved with a Zwift team at the community level. So, there definitely may be pros, depending on their contract with their team. If they start riding with a community team that's trying to come through the Zwift Racing League as its own genre of virtual racing, they may be involved in that league with that trade team on a Zwift side of things and not a part of our premier division, which is essentially the pro world for Zwift racing. So, there may be some pros that are, CCNS here, this Mighty Matters, Ben Wolf, you have some background on this rider here. Pro rider
100%.
In the past, 100% pro. So go ahead, Dave, a little bit more expounding on that idea.
Sure. Ben Wolf rode in the Amgen Tour of California a couple of times in his career. He's out of Connecticut, but you would say that of the New England-based pros, Ben absolutely qualifies as a former professional rider. Now, I would use names like Freddie Ovett or Jordan Shane, Nathan, as good examples of guys that cross over that actually have an in real life pro contract that race on Zwift frequently.
Actually, Shane's a great point. You know why Shane's a great point? Because he rides for Wahoo Finesse. So, and Wahoo Finesse is in the community league, working their way up in order. So it'd be like being a part of.
And he's racing in the Worlds.
And he's racing Worlds, exactly. He's going for Canada in the World. So there's the development of the sport, and because we're in the development section of the sport, everyone's finding their place about where they fit amongst this in a lot of ways. But we are getting the cream rising to the top. We definitely have pros, but I'm gonna push a little bit and say we'll have Zwift pros, we'll have virtual racing pros as its own genre. And there's a reality that if you try and swap genres, it doesn't always mean that you're going to perform at a pro, quote unquote, pro level in that other genre. If you just jump right on over, we saw examples of this. A few years back, Sagan trying to jump back onto the mountain bike. He'd been focusing on nothing but big tour riding for quite a long time. It didn't exactly play out at the top level that allows a lot of expectations to be happening because he'd been working only on the road for such an incredible amount of time. If Cadell were to try and jump into world-class mountain biking later in his career, that wouldn't have worked out very well.
No, great point. Look right now, as this last weekend, Wout van Aert, who is without any doubt one of the best cyclists in the world, he's not winning cyclocross races anymore. He's showing up and getting 4th, 5th places because he's not specializing in a discipline that requires that you work on that craft a lot. So we all pedal the bike. That's the one thing, whether you're a triathlete, a cyclocross racer, a fat tire bike racer, we all pedal the bike, but there is so much beyond that. And what is a pro rider in 2020, 2021? Well, that's a pretty broad term, actually. But Nathan, I think going back to what you said, in 2016, if you had told people that there was going to be a legitimate UCI Esports World Championship that would be respected and enjoyed by hundreds of thousands of people, I think you would have been laughed out of the room, don't you? In 2016, people would have said, absolutely not. There's way too many hurdles to get to that point. Well, Zwift has worked incredibly hard, whether it's verification, working with around the world, the federations that each country has, and of course the UCI and even the Olympic movement. Things happen much more quickly in 2020 than they did 40 years ago, 30 years ago. We're in a whole new era, and this is a great example as we're jumping around now here with the front group in the men, 21K. So Nathan, I'm going to kind of hit the reset button here. This is the bike race. This is the vanguard. One of these men is going to win the race here today. But Nathan, ZRL, it's not really so much about the one man who wins. It's about teams getting multiple riders into the top. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's about the team. I want to jump on your 2016 comment because I got a phone call in 2015, and it came in from Eric Min, and we did our first broadcast. And I think one of our first conversations, he said, "Imagine Olympics, imagine world champion, imagine this." Because I was starting. We had a very small community of racers, but you talk about a guy who's got vision and shoots and aims and says, okay, well, who do we got to put onto this and put the right places, and I mean, that was one of his goals right from the get-go, was having. I mean, he's a racer, at heart, I think, Eric, in a lot of ways, and very competitive. And so very cool to see that 5 years later now we're at this point that it's happening, and that was one of the dreams as well here. I mean, coming from the world of mountain biking and competing at the top level in the USA, and loving competing out on and taking, really, Zwift racing was the way I was training as well, and then jumping that into the world of esports, being majorly into esports, and watching what they were doing with world championships at the top level and how big that was, mixing those two worlds and now seeing this come to fruition. Absolutely awesome, momentous moment. But we got another momentous moment here as we jump into halfway through this climb here. It's going to be Arts here from WZ. Helen from VCRT coming on through. They were not involved the first time around here.
Yes.
Will the Belgian rider have a little bit of an upset, or are they calmly waiting, taking their time, biding their time for an attack, Dave?
Yeah, I'm a little surprised the group is as large as it is right now, Nathan. After aggressive racing, things really have settled down quite a bit. I think all the teams are realizing now, and again, I apologize that we aren't able to show you all of the tables and all of the information, as we're just going to be having a pure bike race here today. But that will all be available later, as this group right now, Nathan, starting to press a little bit, but it's starting to look to me like we're going to have a pretty big group going to the line today. If you haven't been dropped yet, that's a pretty good indicator.
Yeah, it looks like they're doing pretty well at this point, because the reality is, unless you drop off right here, which I think we are going to get a split, not sure they're going to be coming back, because these front runners are going to be very motivated to keep them off the wheels. So we do see Millard here now after Kirchmar. Maybe did Kirchmar just, I think, uninvolved here. Florent just ranking higher now. He was the man that looks like they sent up front. Aquina comes on through far up there. Now the next one, and then it's going to be heavy there from Fusion ECT again. That's your top five across the line. There'll be another sprint point in just a second. Kirchmar's sitting in, and I think the idea here, Casey sent their other rider up there to grab the second place points. It's going to be Recknauer, but Kirchmar is sitting in to make sure that he's got the punch to the line for the big points, which is 40.
Yeah, and Nathan, I have to be honest, this team is really well set up for the finale now, especially if Kirchmeier can take a turn out there, not contest that bonus. That'll just let him recharge a little bit more for the finale. And absolutely, the Austrian. It's an Austrian and German combination team when you talk about the Kirchmeier Angry Bees. And Nathan, they've been dominant in this division. It's the yellow and black jersey, and it looks to me like they have around 5 riders up in this front group of, I'd call it 25.
Cream's just getting live, it looks like. Just a heads up there, Dave. It looks like Kirchmar here with 9 so far. 5 points coming through Eddie Huel, and then Flort Mirad there with 5. I think this is going to update in just a second. I think Mirad may be jumping up over the top of Kirchmar here in just a moment, but I'll have to wait and see if we're going to get another update to come on through. We're going to get one more sprint point for some more points, and then it's going to be 40 for the line here. 2 laps here out on the UCI World. 30 minutes. This has been such a fast race.
Quick.
This is almost like a full-on quick little circuit here. Like, I feel like we're crit racing almost.
Yeah, they're going over, 50K an hour out here, almost average speed. Foudre is the team that's sitting in second right now. And you're right, Nathan, when they update, there it was. It just updated, and you can see that, the top points now go. But it's team, not individual, really. So we have to add these together, to be honest now. But you get a feel for where the points are being distributed out there.
Yeah,
so
KC got 17, it looks like there. Foudre, they only got, I think, the top rider. So it is going to be KC at the top. Cryo RDT, again, 1 rider in there. So it is going to be KC with the top points, and I don't think they're getting beaten to the line as well. And if we do look at the current standings at this point, it is going to be Angry Bees with 147. I think Foudre are just trying to solidify themselves up against Fusion ECT, who are just a little ways back, and I think they're going to be able to do that depending on how they get across the line. Cryo DT 137. It's a battle for third though between Fusion ECT, it looks like, and Cryo. And Cryo's got a lot of names here. Look at all these Angry Bee kits though given to go.
Yeah. Yeah, they're swarming, literally swarming the front. Kirkmeier's going to pick up the bonus points that time, and we might have a dangerous split occurring. So, Nathan, these almost always come back together, but a couple Kirkmeier riders in the front group, but they're not pushing right now. So this will reset, I would imagine. But boy, we're running out of real estate here in Harrogate. This is it. The finale has arrived. We're at about, let's call it 3K to go right now, inside of 3K, to be honest, here in Harrogate. That's the group being brought back now. So this is the vanguard of the bike race. One of these men's going to get a big win. Nathan, I think it's a nice to have a quick race out here today, especially where we are in the season. The 9th of 10 races in the ZRL right here, right now. We're going to find a winner for week 9.
Yeah, and it is setting up nicely here. We do see the Danish national champion making his way forward. That's going to be Kalman now. As you do see the kit, I would watch out for him in a sprint. He's been very quiet so far. And if there's anybody amongst this group that can challenge Kirkmeier and really set up well, he's going to have to follow the wheels very closely. He's got a good kick. Obviously, he earned this championship kit exactly in this kind of manner. So I think Kalman, watch out for Alexi here. He might be able to make this happen. Steinman here looking to set up right there, making his way forward. Hool now on the front for KRDT, just trying to make sure that he doesn't stick his nose in the wind too much. Looks like he did just that. And Hool now moving backwards. Going to have to give a little bit extra through this section here. And it's not what you want to see. You want to kind of float toward the middle of this pack, as you do see Saunders there from Vision right where you need to be. Moving up. He's going to have to back off, though. Hits the KRDT wheel now. Maybe he wants to give a dig. 4.7, though, currently coming from him. And finds himself on the front. The moves here are 3rd to 5th wheel. Nothing on the front unless you want to really be a lead-out man.
Absolutely. Just get yourself into the sweet spot and fight to stay there. Nathan, we are going to have a proper sprint here in Harrogate. This is a big group ready to gallop as they go over 27K. So they're going to hit the red flag of 1K to go very quickly here. Positioning means everything, because right now is where you need to be keeping your powder dry. It's going to require a nuclear level effort to win. They're going to go soon, Nathan. Any moment now, you're going to hear that tick, 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 and then an explosion as the winning race move is coming in the next, I'm going to say, 20 seconds or so.
Yeah, and this is really interesting here. Do you give it all right here and try and get a gap? Usually it doesn't pay off. Once in a while we see an upset that does. Usually riders can hang on and then give a second kick to the line. There's this little 9% gradient for just a moment, quite a little bit of a bump here, and then there's there trying to take the speed up and out of the top of it here, but will he be able to hang on? There's the aero power up, perfectly timed right when it levels out, 50 kilometers per hour, but they're waiting to gallop here. He's still got about 400, now 300 meters to the line. Here comes Kirkmeier. Kirkmeier's got an arrow power up, and he's floating away from this pack. Nobody's going to catch this man. Steven Kirkmeier takes it down. Who's going to be battling for second is the real question. Kirkmeier across the line. Then it's going to be nice from the Roos, followed up by Florent, and then Hebby, it looked like, for the minor placings. What a kick, though. The usual Kirkmeier in the Angry Bees.
Yeah, give it to the Kaiser Kirkmeier out of Austria. That's another win for Stefan. He has been, in my mind, the most dominant rider in the ZRL across all of the divisions this year. An incredible season from Stefan Kirkmeier. And we're not done. One race to go. But what a day for the Angry Bees. They saved Kirkmeier at that final bonus sprint, let him put a little more charge on the battery, and that's what you get. World-class effort today from the Kirkmeier Angry Bees team.
Yeah, and a couple
of that was
more of the
quick.
minor placings coming on through, as you do see here. Kerwood there from Evo, not going to hold up against Lipinetti. And this matters, top 30 right?
Deep. Yeah, 30 deep. Absolutely. So, the points do drop off. 40 points for the win, 35 for second. By the time you get down to 6th, 7th, 8th place, it's only a 1-point difference there. And so these points are what it's all about. And I think that's probably right at that threshold. We're probably still maybe just seeing the 30th place rider coming through here. This is a replay, I believe, that we're looking at.
No replay just yet.
More. Sorry.
Just a moment. We'll be looking at the replay. But a couple more riders coming on through. Want to catch as much as we possibly can there. But we also want to make sure that we're covering a few of the other divisions. Before we jump into the women's race will be starting in 24 minutes from now. But we do have some time to catch some of the bees as they're coming across the line. We'll see if we can jump on in with them. But let's take a quick look at how this final K played out here, Dave. This was super interesting, and we're going to see this for the rest of the day, exactly like this kind of a situation.
Yeah, so we knew it was going to take a dynamic effort to win, and the perfect man to look to would be Stefan Kirkmeyer. But this started things, lighting the fuse on our way to the finish line here. This was just a couple of minutes ago as we wrapped up our Europe, Middle East, and Africa men's A race. Well played. You're right, Nathan, on the dropping the arrow power up there just as it goes flat, but there's not much you can do against that power up and the human power up, Stefan.
Yeah, I think Stefan there, if you look at the way he played that out too, how he waited for the pack to give him. So I'm going to walk you through this just a little bit to give an idea of what the tactic was here. Yes, Stefan Kirkmeyer has huge speed, but he also played it perfectly when it comes to when he attacked, because essentially Aquino used this arrow power up here from WEZ, but behind Kirkmeyer was sitting on the wheel of the rest of the WEZ riders and essentially got an arrow power up of his own from the pack. He got speed from the pack at this point, while the speed coming from Aquino had to be all his power and the arrow power up, whereas Stefan, he waited until the pack got him up to speed and then kicked out of that speed. That was the tactic that was used there. Usually you want to go when it flattens out on this course rather than from the punch. If you're going to go from the punch on the bottom there, you got to go very, very early on.
Well, as the saying goes, help everybody else finish what they have on their plate before you start on yours. That's one of the rules of thumb for a professional bike racer, right? Never use your watts when you can use someone else's. And Stefan is not only strong, he knows this game, or plays the game as Zwift as well as any rider I know of, Nathan.
Another situation here, though, as we do see two guys, Nunes here, Ugster now, Taylor from Cryogen here. This is the bees now for the men. Nunes trying to hold off. He played something similar to Aquino here, though, but this is it. This is what I'm talking about. Waiting until the right moment for the speed to pick up from the pack to get the right lead out and then take that and carry it to the line. DBR trying to come over the top. Will they do it? Looks like it's going to be Antoj here to the line. Then it's going to be Sim. I think maybe two guys. We'll have to take a look here and see what the tailing is on the results. That was quite the quick kick to the line, but DBR able to pull that one off. And again, similar situation from this DBR sprint to the line too. We did see, and I think this is a learning lesson if through this section of course, if you cannot make it happen from the very bottom of that climb right on through. We're getting a little bit of a reverse here. Now, as you can see, I'm going to back this up just a tad, and you can see Nunes there from two guys. He tried to give it a go from the bottom. Got a little bit of a gap here, as you do see. Was unable to really distance himself, and he ends up suffering for it, just being off the front, dangling out there. Well, the rest of the riders sit in and wait, carry speed through. They get up to a similar speed from the pack, pulling them along, 44, 45 kilometers per hour. And then out of that, you see riders kicking up in 11 watts per kilogram. They rested a little bit and then get that second go. And here goes Anhoj, their DBR, taking it down.
But that knowledge of knowing that you've got a viable power-up just waiting to be used is, I don't know, the psychological advantage that gives you is almost as much as having the power-up itself, that positivity coming into the finale. You get a good look, though, Nathan, and if you do go early, it is so hard to hold off the charging group behind you. But the thing that you also have to remember for these races is you don't know if you don't try, and there's certainly going to be riders who are learning a lot out there in the ZRL. As we reach week 9, this one is done and dusted. So women coming up next, that would be the Europe, Middle East, and Africa women's group. And then we'll make our way to the men's West field coming out of Europe, the Middle East, and Africa.
We're going to see if
quick race.
It's been really quick racing, super quick racing. Just doing some alphabet soup over here to find Quadrelli out on course as he's finished up. He's currently in first place right now for the C men. Let's go ahead and jump on over there as this is going to be the leaders within the C men. They're going to be heading into their finish line as well. A little bit of a breakaway situation here. This is a similar situation we've been seeing through that sprint section over and over again. A little break that's usually been caught.
the higher you advance up in categories, the harder it is to make a difference. The quality of riders becomes more and more compact or closer together. This is the kind of category where you're more likely to see a small group or a solo breakaway make it to the line. Looks like
Bijur,
we've got
Julian is racing again. He raced in APAC for Team Type 1 this morning. And Bijur is out there again. And he was in the C's for the finish in the final kick to the line this morning as well. I mean, he didn't win the race, but he was there. That's great to see Julian out there for a second go.
I wonder what time of day the APAC race was. That's our friends really covering Australia, New Zealand, Asia, I guess India. Really, just think Asia for that time zone there. And yeah, you don't hear about many riders doing 2 races in one day on the ZRL. That's for sure. I'm not going to say I've never heard of it.
Jessica Hamilton. Right. There's a couple in that do the West Americas as well as the APAC. And then Julian Bijur, I think he's been up to this. He's coming out of the Netherlands. This is a rider who's been around since 2015, actually. He's one of the first names that we commentated on. Team Experimental. Great to see him here on Team Type 1 here, family side of things. 155 beats per minute. So Julian, he's been around for the longest time. Always a great rider and very committed, obviously, to the Zwift world, both racing from Team Type 1 in the morning and now in the evening, I believe out of the Netherlands here. And we'll see if he's got a kick to the line. Was it just openers this morning? We'll see if he's got anything to pull out up against Quadrali, who's really, this is the quads man coming out of Italy trying to take this down.
That race was basically 12 hours ago. That would have been around 8 o'clock in the morning there in Europe. And now it's more like 7 o'clock in the evening. So that's impressive for sure.
A little bit of bottom to top here. Is it going to happen? Will we see the break that we were talking about? We might be able to see it here because of the smaller pack now, because we will not have the drive to the line from a mass pack to really lead things out. Lavian here, Agne, I'm going to say that with Quadrali, they're trying to hold on with the feather power. Not going to be able to happen here. It looks like the French rider from Foods right here is going to be making it happen. And it might be a mistake there with F there. It's the French team. Maybe it's an assumption there for me to say that it's going to be a lower class Foods team here, but Quadrali able to hold on. He's not going to break him here. Flavian not able to make it happen as Quadrali comes on through for the sprint. 190 beats per minute here from Flavian, but not going to happen. Quadrali comes on through 186, 116 RPMs Yikes. To the line. Italy makes it happen. UCI Harrogate. There it is. Then it's going to be Wickland here coming on through for SZ for third. Valhalla with Dallin, another rider that's been along for the ride for quite a long time. That's a name that's familiar. And then Bijur's going to be coming through for fifth. That's the C category situation out there, Dave. Dave.
Quadrali is a wattage cottage, man. That was a massive effort there. I'm really, really impressed.
Huge effort there coming in from Quadrali. So let's take a look at how that... Well, let's go ahead and take a look at our results here in just a second, Dave. That was really good racing out on the UCI Harrogate course. Really, really punchy racing. I think a lot of people have been saying in the chat, similar to what you've been saying, is that the course tomorrow, somewhat similar, not quite as
there's some
punchy,
longer, harder climbs tomorrow.
The forward KOM is very punchy, very, very punchy. Whereas the reverse KOM, it's more of that steady grind that you see out of the initial gate here on this UCI Harrogate course.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how our the Zwift community riders that we've been talking about, the Jordan Shanes or the Kristen Kolchinskis, if they're able to use their knowledge of the platform, is that knowledge going to be the difference maker out there tomorrow? Again, these are questions that'll be all answered over 50 kilometers. It's going to be, I think, the most important 2 races that we've had in the history of esports coming up, even bigger than virtual Tour de France, because of this unique situation where the best of the world tour that are committed to and excited about racing are there. Rigoberto Urán, Alberto Bettiol, the winner of Tour of Flanders. I mean, you've got Olympic medalist, world champion. Annemiek van Vleuten is racing, And what's great is not because the Dutch Federation is making her, because she wants to. She wants a piece of this. And same thing for a lot of these World Tour riders. They're choosing to race, not being told that they have to. That's the difference. It means that we're going to have just a wide open Donnybrook out there tomorrow. But I agree with those people in the chat too. This course was pretty close. It gives you a good feel for what tomorrow's going to look like. Aggressive racing will be the name of the game.
I think there's a lot of hype too, kind of just in the community that made not only from the league and how it's playing out, people are aggressive to get their own points, but I think just I don't know, for me personally, when I know that people are racing at the top end of my sport and I'm racing at a whatever level in the sport locally, it kind of makes you, I don't know, it does something to you where you're like, well, I want to compete like real, and you get kind of antsy a little bit, like it's that time of year to go. So, and I think that the other thing I would say too, where this difference between virtual Tour de France was a replication of an in real life situation that then went to a virtual world. This is UCI World Esports Championships. This isn't a replication of something somewhere else. This isn't trying to take something from in real life and place it into, this is the World Championships that came out of this genre, this sport. And so that I think that's the main difference, is that we are looking for the best Zwifter in the world right now, where I think it's much more momentous than having a virtual Tour de France where you're replicating something that's going to take place otherwise, that did take place. And we had a winner this year in the Tour de France in real life, whereas now UCI World Championships, we're just finding the fastest person in esports when it comes to virtual racing.
We talked about that on World of Zwift, right? I think it's going to be the ultimate man and woman who wins is going to be someone that has a foot in both worlds here, someone who has been Zwifting a lot already and using that platform as part of their training and part of their motivation, as well as someone who's got some in real life chops as well. Because, I mean, if you just jumped in right now and someone said, well, who's going to win? Well, you'd say, well, who's the best in real life bike racers? They're going to win, right? It's just watts. It's power. That's what cycling is all about. How much do you weigh? How much power do you make? And how much climbing is there on the course? And then what kind of a team do you have around you to help you cover breaks and make moves happen? Well, not quite.
Now, Dave, I'm gonna jump on there, Dave, a little bit. And I think Dave's playing his cards to his hand, though, and on his picks, because I think he's got a couple of pocket rockets for his picks when it comes to World Championships. So, and I'm
because of Lawrence Stevens.
And so there we go. I mean, and I think it's a great pick. I think it's a great pick for World Championships tomorrow. I'm not saying like definitely watch out for Lawrence Stevens tomorrow. I'm 100% on board with you there. On the men's side of things, I don't know. We're gonna have to wait and see. I put my picks out on World of Zwift. Go ahead and head on over to World of Zwift. Check them out. We've got them. We got them on there as well. But I also saw some names jump in that I didn't realize that they were there actually. Like I've seen some social media posts from some teams that I was like, oh, okay, this is changing. Jay Vine is on an app. Here's one thing is that a lot of the Northern Hemisphere, they're not getting that in real life punch right now. Right? They're not getting that like nonstop pressure against that kind of more dynamic where maybe you might not need that quite as much. It might give you a couple extra watts and also the confidence from racing right now going in for this man, Jay Vine, coming out of the Southern Hemisphere. I watch out for Vine, man. He is on an absolute, I'd call it a Donnybrook. The guy's taking this to the town right now. So.
Let me go ahead. I love that. Jay Vine is a great example. I'm going to throw another one at you that you'd get some good odds on this rider, I think. But Lawson Craddock out of Austin, Texas. Now, if you go back to 2016, we were talking about that earlier.
15 beta. I did 2x30s with Lawson Craddock on original Jarvis. This guy knows Zwift.
And so, and what's interesting, Nathan, is I'm not sure if you would have known at the time, but he had a near-death cycling accident in Australia.
He had broken
at the
something.
Tour Down Under.
He was talking to me in chat.
Almost everything.
So we were chatting just a little bit in game, and he was coming back from a horrible crash. And I wasn't a part of his rebuild. I was doing intervals with him during his rebuild.
That's awesome.
He probably didn't know who I was at the time. I was just some mountain bike pro out of the Midwest racing the War Series. But, like I'm jumping on, oh, Lawson, what's up, dude? Let's do 2x30. And I was actually following his training program. So it was kind
That's
of fun.
awesome.
Yeah.
He might be the most underappreciated world tour pro that America has ever produced. This kid has had some unbelievable comeback issues that he's had to overcome, but the talent there, and I tell you what, his family, Nathan, makes their living roofing, putting on roofs in Texas. You're not going to find tougher people than roofers in Texas. 110 degrees up there, putting on a roof, just hammering away. Nothing but a big old one of those orange jugs of water to get you through the day. That's working man chops. And Lawson Craddock comes with that kind of DNA. He's also got dad watts. He just had a kid recently, and I'm
telling you, dad watts are something. If you're a Zwifter, they are something.
For sure.
We got to get him a complimentary dirt kit.
Get him on dirt.
Like get him a dirt kit. That'd be great here. Absolutely awesome. That's cool to hear too. Is like watching people's progress through life stages too, and their racing. And Zwift makes it more available there too. That's a great part of it as well. I am seeing in chat here, the duck has just shown up. And if we're talking about somebody else who can go bottom to top, Lionel's in chat, and be on the watch out for him tomorrow. He's saying amen to that, Nathan. I appreciate you there. We're also seeing No Breakaways, Zwift Racing Tips and Tricks. They're doing a great job over on YouTube as well. Make sure to go check them out there in chat. Both of them, Lionel's been live streaming almost all of his races as far as as I know. I'm not sure if I haven't checked out the, I don't have the racer manual and whether or not they're allowed to live stream tomorrow. There may be some geolocking and stuff. I'm not positive, but if they are allowed to live stream, I would assume that a lot of these guys will be doing some sort of live stream with a delay. A lot of times in the esport world, I was actually watching, just as a background in the esports, from some of you probably don't watch a whole lot of the traditional esports, but I was not watching the Apex Legends qualifiers, similar to what we're doing here with the community qualifiers that move people up and down in the brackets. But the Apex Legends qualifiers, they were a lot of streamers with a 5-minute delay on, so nobody could tell where they were in game. So you couldn't get stream sniped to figure out, oh, can I go get my competitor kind of a thing, right? So we've got something similar developing here on a smaller scale right now for our esport, but they're live streaming their live view of these big tournaments.
Lionel Villasan might be the best chance that the community has to get a world champion out of our group. Nathan, does screen sniping make a difference in e-racing? Have you ever seen anyone use that as a competitive advantage that's worked?
I think the only thing that makes it different is that I can look at anybody's point of view in Zwift at any time, right? But it might make it easier to see their point of view. Also, you might be able to see if they're suffering. You might be able to see what their tactics could be. If they have their Discord open in the chat, that might be something as well. Or not in the chat, but in the stream, you might be able to hear the DS and what they're saying. The other thing is you can maybe see what their power up is. Now, a lot of these streamers, though, they take, they do something to counteract that. They'll put a little, they do all kinds of fun stuff. I'm not like Lionel. I wouldn't be surprised if he puts a picture of a duck over his power up. You know what I mean? Or they put their logo, their team logo, over their power up, so you don't know what power up they have. So you can't go and look and be like, oh, they got this power up, right? So, but a lot of times, all you got to do is put a little delay on. The only thing there is, though, a lot of people want to see it live. If it's not live, a lot of times, unless I'm really committed to the streamer, I'll just go watch the main broadcast and see what's going on in the main broadcast, because the results, a lot of times, live sports is what it is. The results are over. You go somewhere else, so. In Zwift racing, I don't think it's quite as much of a thing for stream sniping. I have been stream sniped though in KISS 100s when I'm on a breakaway. Like if you're in a breakaway, knowing whether or not it's working together, that can be a big, right? Like seeing, okay, can we pull this back or is it or not? Or getting motivation from what they're doing.
Oh, perfect. The perfect example is in Tour de France teams with the TV in the car doing exactly what you're talking about. They know not only who's working in the breakaway, maybe even more importantly, what teams are leading the chase. Who's putting 3 or 4 riders on the front of the group and organizing the chase. That tells you everything you need to know if you're up in a breakaway. When you hear that the front of that group is chaotic or multiple riders are showing up and working, that's a great sign for you. But when you hear that the whole Omega Pharma team is up there, Oh boy, that's not going to be good.
Let's
There's three
let's jump
guys
real
named
quickly.
Rick chasing you down. All right.
Let's jump real quickly on over to the Wild West as Dave gave us some awesome commentary over what happened over the weekend with the Nations Challenge, and then we've got the women's racing coming up. This is all obviously a lot of build-up coming into the UCI World Championships tomorrow. We're all really excited for that, but also we have the community racing here with ZRL, WTRL, Zwift Racing League, week number 9. Women's racing coming up in just about 3.5 minutes or so. Let's take a look at what happened with the Nations Challenge, and then we'll take a look at the team standings, as well as we'll get into the results for what just happened for the racing in the East.
Once in every rider's life comes a time when they can step up. A time when their effort truly matters. And for thousands of riders across the planet, that time came in the Zwift Nations Challenge. Thousands set off looking for glory, representing their country, ready to bring home the title. A simple challenge lay in front of them. Ride as fast as you can over the 50-kilometer UCI Cycling Esports World Championships course and add your number to your nation's tally. When the sun went down on the final time zone and all the rides were ridden, the nation with the fastest average time would win. It was as simple as that. The sun rose in the east and the Japanese took to the course to set a benchmark time for the rest of the world to beat. Their riders crossing the line in an awesome average time of 1 hour, 15 minutes, and 56 seconds. Over the coming 2 days, the wave of riders cascaded across the planet, through Africa, Europe, and eventually to the Americas. Thousands left every last watt on the road of this tortuous course. One by one, Zwifters powered through for their flag, and one by one, countries posted their times. First, Norway challenged for the lead. Then Poland took over, but neither could bridge the gap to Japan. France, Germany, and the United Kingdom were all in the mix. And after 2 days of intense competition and 234,000 kilometers ridden, the final riders crossed the line in North America. The results were in. Despite valiant efforts across the world to unseat them, Japan clung to the top of the table. 1 hour, 15 minutes, and 56 seconds brought them in third, with an average watts per kilo of 3.58. The second step of the podium belonged to the Belgians, with 225 riders posting an impressive average time of 1 hour, 15 minutes, and 36 seconds. But the winner of the inaugural Nations Challenge was Sweden. Their average speed of 40.04 kilometers per hour left the rest of the world fading into the distance, delivering a challenge-winning time of 1 hour, 14 minutes, and 58 seconds, making the Swedes the best Zwifters on the planet.
Pretty cool. First ever Nations Challenge, and that was a lot of fun. I had a ton of fun doing it with the USA. I think looking forward, I think that's gonna become an annual for sure. From what I'm hearing, a lot of people enjoyed it, and that competition between the countries, I think it's only going to heat up as the word gets out more and more. Dave. So the women are jumping out on course for the European. Middle Eastern and Africa. We've got some battles going on here amongst this. We're going to run through the current standings here very quickly for this situation amongst the women right now. Dave, just make sure the mic's open. I'm not sure we're getting anything from it. Okay, great. Thank you so much, Dave. And so let's just take real quick here. Look, here's where things are at for women's EMEA Division 1A. Go ahead and take it away there, Dave.
Well, the team on top of the table is not just a team, it's become a movement of the people. This is the Aeonian race team with 159 points, so close to perfect out there. Great job, ladies. It's Socks for Watts, Watt TF, sitting in second, 148 points, and it's close. This is going to be a big part of the storyline out here today. Is Cryogen Stelvio, sitting 3 points back. Sisu, I Race Like a Girl in fourth, BRT, the Atomic Kittens in fifth. Again, this is after after 8 of 10 races. We're into the 9th today. SWW Volclico in 6th, Draft ZRL in 7th. Bristol Flyers only 1 point back there in eighth. Then you've got Z Sunrise ninth, Socks for Watts Pizza Party. They're another team that has amazing depth. There's Socks for Watts squads at every level. They're a movement as well. So that's a look at your top 10 teams in the Europe, Middle East, and Africa Women's Division 1. Get ready. It's going to be a throwdown out there today on Harrogate. I'll throw it back to you because, Nathan, there you go. Aeonian on the front, on the top in the Bs too.
Ionian Banditas currently holding it down 158. It's going to be TBR Dance on. It looks like a 148 here, 10 points behind. Socks for Watts, SBR Cake, Cryogen Kreutfer, followed up by SWW Boiler in 5th place. WTRL Watts up 105 there, a little ways back in 6th. There are 3R Bewitched, 105 tied for 6th and 7th. That's a battle with a head-to-head there. Up against HDR Bells on Bikes, only 4 points behind, so 6th, 7th, and 8th still up for grabs. BVRT and Herd of VSCC floundering out for 9th and 10th. And then in the C's, this is the current situation.
We have SZ Sif up on top, but it's close enough that this is going to go all the way to the final finish line with KRTC hotter than hell. 5 points back in second, and then the Aeonian Chicas are at 139. So they're only 2 points behind the hotter than hell team. The Aeonian Chickies are in third. Cryogen Telegraph in fourth. SWWMOA in fifth. Clapham Chassels 1 and 6. Socks for Watts Whatnots in seventh. Herd of Cougar Chaos in eighth. It's the TFC Storm in ninth. And then there's Fearsome rounding out our top 10 for the C women.
In the D's, the Aeonian Diosas, they're 156, battling for 2 points. Herd of Dolphins 1. And then it's going to be TBR Wiggle On, followed up by BRT Blazing Kittens in 4th place. RCC Women D, followed up by Revo Revels. And then Herd of Dolphins 2, 108 in 7th. And then in IRL, Serrano Hams in 8th with 97 points. GC Spokes and Mirrors, 83 points for 9th. And then a battle for 9th and 10th. They're only 1 point difference with SZ Sign. That's the situation here in the women's category. Let's go ahead and jump right on into the racing, though, as it looks like, well, maybe we're going to have to take a second here before we jump into the racing. As we wait to grab a couple of the scenes here. We do have some images coming on through here. I just need to get them going. But it does look like we got Socks Watts pushing on the front a little bit here as we get this output coming on in. Now, just real quickly here, the situation, Aeonian and Socks Watts, they both want this badly, as we do get the images coming on through here. I mean, coming into this season, my pick there, Dave, was Socks for Watts to go to the Premier Division. And Aeonian have kind of put a little bit of a wrench in that. Ooh, Catherine Curry here, sees her race like a girl. I think she's going to have a rude awakening in about 30 seconds, Dave.
You know, Catherine is familiar enough with this format that I would have to put my trust in her. One of the most seasoned pros in real life, Nathan, going back to really when I first started announcing big-time bike racing here in America. Catherine Curie was one of the queens of American racing. She's been a national champion. So I'm not exactly sure what she was doing there, but it certainly, I never doubt Catherine Curie, that's for sure. So early here, maybe stretching the legs a little bit. Not exactly sure, but you know what? At the end of the day, that'll all come out in the wash because this is the group together here. That's one of the big names in this group. Another is Daniel Estrate, the Romanian rider that is on that Aeonian team. And I would agree with you, Nathan, just based on what we had seen coming into this ZRL season. Socks for Watts had done so much good work in the team time trial, and that's made up half of the racing that we've done in the ZRL. I really expected them to be hard to beat. Well, they have been hard to beat. They lived up to that. They certainly, let's put it this way, Socks for Watts is not disappointed. They've been awesome, but Aeonian has found the highest level. Both of those teams, though, Nathan, would do just fine if they get promoted up into the Premier League. They'll be at home.
Yeah, it's going to be quite the battle to get there, that's for sure. You know, there's a lot. I just want to say to all the teams, continue on. Don't give up all the way to the finish of the season. Go what you're shooting for. You know, I would just make sure you're placed as high as you possibly can be at the end of the season and let the cards fall where they may. You never know what could happen. So I just want to give some encouragements there to all the teams to keep on moving forward there. especially those, I think Saskatchewan, Aeonian, they're battling it out. We'll see what ends up happening between them there. Thorvaldsen now up toward the front, as you do see here, as 4.2 watts become 172 beats per minute. Elliott now, they've really been controlling the front end. I've seen a lot of this light blue on the front end of this race so far. So it's interesting to see. I think the tactic here is to make it hard where you can and then sit in where it doesn't matter. And that's exactly what I've been seeing from them so far.
Yeah, to be honest, that's the successful formula in racing, as well as be judicious with your efforts. We've got a big group of talented women here, and yeah, it's complicated to win out of this group. I heard you mentioning Leah Thorvaldsen. That's another one of the big names that we have racing today. Certainly has those chops of being a world tour rider, living in the United States in Arkansas now. But Leah is one of the really smart riders and has been a great ambassador for the platform as well. We're in with Dykstra now of the Cryo RDT team. This is a team that is right at that threshold, Nathan, of
3 points
being,
behind. 3 points behind right
yeah,
now, too.
right
So
there. Yeah. So, yeah, they've got a lot to gain with a good ride out here today, talking about Cryo RDT. They're a motivated squad, and they got a lot of support out there as well. It's going to be fun to see what they can do out here today, pushing at the front a little bit now. Remembering we have all of the bonus sprints to look at, and one of them is only a couple K away here.
Yeah, we can give it real quickly. So, this is the current team standings. We'll give an idea there real quickly again as we do talk about these teams. We have already seen CSI Race Like a Girl on the front with Catherine Curry. Cryo RDT, they've got a lot of riders up toward the front. Sox Watts, obviously, in the blue kids have been controlling the race. And the Ionian sitting just following wheels. Really, it's their race to lose. So, I have a feeling they're just going to follow wheels and make sure they're set up well for as many points as they can gain without too many risks on the day today, Dave.
Yeah, well, and that's a good point, Nathan, is they don't have to win the race today to keep a really strong lead in this division. They just need to not have a terrible day out here, which allows you to be conservative. And it's a unique place to be in this sport, as aggression is almost always going to be your ally if you're a team that wants to win. But in this case, laying back a little bit, just trying to keep your riders up there, because these races really come down to the team that can put multiple riders into the top 10. If you put 3 riders into the top 10, almost always you're going to end up taking the day with your team.
Yeah, it's a real good point there, Dave, is that it's all about consistency with the teams. Now, we are 6.3 kilometers in. You can see that is going to be that little grind right before the downhill, before the KOM. We do see they just came down that extremely sharp first downhill descent that kicks down to 17% high speed situation. Then there's this little bump through the pastures here. So we do see some of the sheep. Do they have their UCI kits on? That's going to be the question for the sheep out there.
They're working on it. Yeah.
They're working on it. There's going to be a right-hand turn, sharp downhill right into the Queen of the Mountain there at that 7.7 kilometer mark.
Can you imagine? See? Nathan, at the Worlds, in a couple of the Worlds, they've been putting, we joked about that the other day, about putting jerseys on the featured animals out on the course. Here in Yorkshire, it was the sheep. Can you imagine? It was cows, giant bovines that they used a couple of years ago in Norway for the Bergen Worlds. Can you imagine how big a jersey for a cow would be? That's a lot of fabric.
Man. I mean, what if we go to Africa or Australia? Kangaroos in Australia? Giraffes in Africa? Hippos? I'm not sure.
I don't know, but it's funny you say that, Nathan, because
go to the Amazon. We're going to go to the Amazon. It's going to be some sort of a leopard or a boa constrictor.
Yeah, I'm going to give you the job of putting the jersey on the leopards. See how that goes for you. I bet you they love it. I heard a rumor, I don't know if it's a rumor or not. I think it's a fact, but at some point we're going to have our first World Road Championships down in Africa. It's going to happen. I think Rwanda is the most likely nation to host that Worlds. I sure hope it happens in this next decade. That would be a really great goal for the 2020s. There's always going to be movements to bring world championships to unique places. I mean, Richmond was a bit of a risk. That worked out really well for the UCI. That was a extremely popular world championships. And I would expect that if they could bring the worlds to Rwanda or sub-Saharan Africa, that would be a big move for the UCI. And we're in the day and age of big moves out there. And here's a woman making one. Couple big names on the front right now. That's going to be Catherine Curie and Daniela Estrate here. If you're sitting at the back of this group, you're a little concerned right now because they are putting the accelerator down on the floorboard. And Nathan, that's going to be because we got a bonus points just a few meters up the road right now. It looks like Curie has done enough. In my opinion, I think she's going to hold on here.
We'll have to wait and see. There may be a couple of riders here just waiting to pounce. We did see coming from Kirkmeyer and a few others in the men's race, those extra watts for the line. Hall able to close things down. She's dragging riders along with her. I would not count out Stelvio, Krygen, 7 McIver. She's got a kick. We saw it in the first round in the points race here. 191 Beastman. Gamst also has a kick as well. I think they're biding their time as Curie is more of that strong FTP rider,
group,
I think. Punchier rider.
They're blowing this group up.
Her, regardless of whether or not she gets the sprint, her work will be done to blow this up because there's a big gap at this point. Daniela Estrate, Rachel Elliott, Jamie Lee Wright, all the big names to the front. Frisch from an Aeonian. Arce is there as well. Now Hall, 199. Man. Here comes Nero power up though. Is it Estrate? I think it is to the line. No, Jamie Lee Wright. It's right. 5.9. Will she be able to carry the speed on through though? It's not even in sight yet. It's a left-hand turn before they even see the Queen of the Mountain banner.
This is the highest level of bike racing. I love it. We're only 8.8K into a 28K race, and these ladies have taken out the 20-kilo sledgehammer and are just wailing away on the front. I haven't seen this much damage done in the first 10K of a bike race all year, Nathan. This is an absolute Donnybrook, and it's going to be Catherine Curie coming back to the front. She's the one that lit the fuse. She's the one that's the bomb. It's going to be incredibly hard to beat Catherine Curie out here today. She's going to take top bonification. It's going to be Francesca Hall.
Right to the line. Oh, what a kick.
Curie, Hall, and then it looks like MacGyver there is going to come through for Cryogen, so they're keeping their head above water. That team, Cryogen, again, only 3 points back for second place, so this is going to be an outright slugfest here in Harrogate today. And Nathan, someone call the National Guard because there's going to be bodies lying all over Harrogate now. This is as aggressive. Rachel Elliott is there. That's no surprise because this is the classic OSS situation. Only the strong survive in Harrogate this hour.
Gamps up at the 8 watts per kilogram here. She needs to get back on terms. This is the rider you do not want to come back. She's dangerous later in the race here. Daniela Estrate, Aeonian. They sat, they waited, they were following wheels, but was it too much waiting? And there is going to be nothing but motivation in that front group at this point to just go. Jamie Lee Wright, she's the only one that she's just going to sit in and allow her team to come back. But Rachel Elliott, MacGyver here, Catherine Curry, Hall from draft, all of them, if Gamps can get back on terms, they will all be extremely motivated to work together and get rid of Aeonian, completely drop them from this race and take as many points away. And there are a lot of points at the top end of this table here. Not sure it's going to make a threat in the overall, but there's still another week of racing next week. Will they be able to put some damage into that lead that Aeonian has? Arce trying to kick here, but will it be too much and drop the rest of her riders?
Yeah, I don't think Aeonian is really going to be the story here, is they're going to actually go into team time trial mode right now. So one thing's for sure, if you are Jamie Lee Wright, you sit on this group. You don't take one pull. There's no way your nose should ever feel the wind here, as her team has. So again, remembering we were talking about stacking the top 10, Nathan, well, you've got a top 5, but it is going to come back together a little bit as Catherine Curie. This is the craziest dynamic. Yeah, cryo now. So we've got 2 different team time trials going on, trying to ride back into the race. Catherine Curie has absolutely demolished this field here. We're going to find out who the survivors are, who's going to fight back to come into the race. And Nathan, this is 11K in. This is absolutely bananas. What this is going to go down. Go ahead and put a star next to this one. This go down as the best race that the ZRL has seen all season long. I mean, this is one of the biggest names that we have in the sport. Rachel Elliott. Nathan, #legend.
Absolute legend. It's a race of meters here. You know, this isn't said and done as far as a lot of people say, oh, it's 2 seconds. No, don't worry about it. They're going to come back it off. No, if they have another kick here and they're going to battle it out for some points, Hall looks like she takes the honors across the line. If they press on at this point, these riders are probably at limit trying to bring this back.
Wow.
Hall and the rest, if they work together, they get the right momentum on this course, they could make something happen. Right, slowing things down though at the front, 3.5. She pulls through, slows down actually. That's a tactic. You go to the front, put down 2. You slow it right on down. You go to the front, put down 2 or 3. Slow it right down. And can bog things
just
up.
bog
We'll
it
see.
down.
Daniela
Yep.
Estrate, she's motivated. 7 watts per kilogram, pulling her team right along, and that's going to be the workhorse. She's going to be the power here that's going to be able to bring this back. She's the strongest among them, really.
And they will get back. The riders in this front group aren't going to be able to hold off this team time trial happening right now. I mean, that's the entire Aeonian squad, minus Jamie Lee Wright, who's up in that front group working together. But not an ideal situation getting put behind the 8 ball there. But I'm fully anticipating this comes back together but boy, I tell you what, Francesca Hall and Catherine Curie don't want anything to do with that. Neither does Rachel Elliott here, the Socks for Watts rider here. But to be honest, Socks for Watts is not in a good position right now. All they have is Rachel Elliott up here in the top, I'm going to even say top 12 riders at this point. That's not what they need if they're going to try to take back or hold off Cryo. But neither Cryo nor Socks for Watts are anywhere close to as solid as Aeonian is. And you know what? That's the story of the season that you're looking at right now, too. So Jamie Lee Wright goes from 2 different positions here. She's either on the back, just sitting on. If she does somehow rotate up to the front, as soon as she gets there, she just shuts it all down, just turns the switch off, and then they have to come around her. So she's doing a really good job. The rider from Guernsey, now living in London here, as Catherine Curie just wishes she could find 2 more riders who wanted to work as hard as she does today.
Rachel Elliott seems motivated, I think, to do so. She is pulling through, I think, draft as well with Hall, really just looking for the points. The battle here between Rachel Elliott and the other rider from Cryo is a real thing, though, too, what they do come to the line together, and they are able to hold this off. Looking at the rider here, MacGyver, that is going to be a Cryo rider that's going to be looking for as many points. If she beats her to the line, and then Cryo behind in this third chase group is able to beat the other Sox. So look at this. We have a Sox for Watts situation with Claire Good. We're also seeing, I believe, Leo Thorvaldsen is in here. Yep, Leo Thorvaldsen is in here. And then we've got some other Cryo riders here with Gilson. We're seeing Ditstra's there as well. Deacon's there. So this situation here is playing out to be a Sox for Watts versus Cryo for that second place on the podium out here. So looking at this chase group with Aeonian, if they get back on terms, really, even if they don't get back on terms, they're going to solidify themselves. But the reality is that it is going to be Rachel Elliott versus MacGyver here for the second place podium spot if she's able to beat them. And then behind how it plays out with these riders in this third chase group, for them to the line, those points will matter as well.
If this race ended right now, Aeonian has 5 riders in the top 10. Which is pretty interesting. But that top 10 is split into 2 groups. This is the race scenario as we're hitting the exact midpoint here. So it's 2 laps out on the 2019 UCI Worlds course in Harrogate. This is the front group that we're looking at. So Rachel Elliott, Catherine Curie, Francesca Hall, Jamie Lee Wright, and MacGyver. That's the 5. Now, this is, I think we're seeing the merging, Barbara Frisch here of the Aeonian team, and we are seeing the marrying together of these 2 groups. So it was not an easy chase. It took quite a while to nail this one back, as we are now at the exact midpoint of the race. That's the finish line. They'll be seeing in about another, I would say, 19 minutes or so. This one will be done and dusted. What a phenomenal race this is. So, Nathan, it wasn't like Aeonian had to go into full-on panic mode, but they sort of did in a way, because that was not an ideal situation. They only had Jamie Lee Wright up in that front group, but now, boy, how things can change.
This right-hand turn here, Dave, if I were anyone that has any power at this point, I would give full gas over the top. Over there, this descent on the other side does not have a giant snowball effect of a group to chase you down, and you've got right in front of you 3 minutes of opportunity. Full gas, try and drop every Aeonian that just got back on terms. If you had anything in the tank, if you were reserving anything in that front group at this point, the counterattack would be perfect right now, because those Aeonian girls that just came back, they will be a little bit spent on the back foot. Anybody who could go with you, it'll most likely only be 1 or 2. If you're going for the scratch race in the day, you could do some serious damage right now.
It's all about points, folks. And what's happening here now is Aeonian, the top team, well, They have won just about every point they could. They're only 1 point shy of being perfect at this point, and they're going to do it again here today, most likely. So the real story becomes not this group, but the next group behind. Sisu I Race Like a Girl has one rider here. Same thing for Socks for Watts. Same thing for Draft. So same thing for Cryogen. So the points that are going to win or second and third, because really, to be honest, you can throw first place out the window right now with Aeonian. But second and third, it's going to be incredibly tight. And Nathan, it's going to be the rider in 29th place today, the point that she scores that might make the difference for the team that gets the much needed point here difference to move up on the table. Again, Cryogen has 3 points to make up on Socks for Watts. The points are distributed 20 for the winning team, 19 for second, 18 for third. So you can see how it's hard to get a lot of points advantage out there. Trying to make up 3 points, well, that would mean that you finish 19th today, and the team that you're trying to make them up on is back in 16th or 15th. So you can see it's not going to be easy to do. Here's our front group. Once again, now, it's not a long race at all. It'll be less than 40 minutes before this one is put paid. And all that means is it's going to be more intense. It'll hurt significantly more out here. It's just not as long in the saddle. But these are some of the races that really, really leave a mark.
I'm going to give a quick little update again on where the standings are to give everybody an idea here. 159 at the top for Ionian, insurmountable almost. 2 really bad races. So if something were to happen in the second half of this race, something were to happen in the TTT, it's not impossible, but it is very improbable that they're going to be unseated. The battle there, though, between Socks for Watts, Cryogen, and how this race is playing out in front of us with so many Aeonian here in that top 10, we are seeing it play out a procession in ways maybe. Now, to the end of the season, I say keep on fighting when everything's tabulated, everyone's verified, everyone, who goes to the Premier Division is still to be decided in, knockout tournament style as well. That's going to be announced shortly. So, keep fighting to the line there. But the battle here between Cryogen Stelvio and Socks for Watts, there, as you do see for those 3 points, that's what's playing out in front of us here. And Curry here, she's the wrench in the middle of all that at that 127 right there with Ford. Not necessarily to be battling, but to take points away and kind of, and put some sting in the legs as well and be a competitor in amongst these ladies here. So great to see her continue to break things apart and be able to play a role as well. When you got a rider like this that's really aggressive, wants to win the day, you can also make that a part of your own arsenal from your team if you know how to follow that wheel, know how to use that aggression to maybe your advantage as well. Maybe Rachel Elliott, she can get a breakaway situation with Catherine Curry. That'd be perfect for her to try and drop MacGyver, because that other Cryogen rider at this point, that's the real threat.
I would use Catherine Curie if I was on another team as a rider that I would say, look, she's here to win this bike race today by herself. She's not doing what Aeonian is doing right now, which is just stacking riders up in the top 10. I really think that, in her mindset, which makes total sense to me, she wants to win a bike race and do it the old-fashioned way. Now, so it's really going to be the next 2 groups on the road and the makeup of those groups that are going to tell us where the advantage lies or doesn't lie right now, because you see so that camouflage green and blue and black jersey, that's Aeonian. This is the team that's absolutely dominated without a doubt in my mind. And Nathan, you're right. It hasn't been determined exactly, or it hasn't been announced, I should say, how it's all going to work. But I'm anticipating that team does. I'm speculating, let's say, that this team would advance up into the Premier League for season 2 that'll start in mid-January of 2021. They're good enough. They deserve it. They've done the work. Now, that's not determined yet. So what I'm interested in is what other teams are going to be part of that conversation, and certainly Socks for Watts, Watt TF. There are 2 Socks for Watts teams here as well, Pizza Party, the other squad, but Cryogen Stelvio and Watt TF are going to be locked in an incredible battle, and that's the difference with ZRL. It's not always about who wins the race or who's in the top 10. It's about the depth of your team and the teams that can we talked about stacking the top 10. Well, it's about stacking the top 20 really the top 30 today. And I love that. Every rider matters. As Nathan said, keep your head in the game, ladies. You never know what's coming around the next corner out here. But today, Nathan, watching this race, Captain Curie is going to be very hard to beat over the line. But as we've said, that's not the entire story, or that's not even really the story out here today. In the team based ZRL, we've got a lot to watch for as the ladies are inside of 10K to go now.
Yeah, and real quick look here, we do see Catherine Curry, 142 beats per minute. She's rested up a little bit till this section, getting a little bit of a gap on this 2% gradient. This is an interesting section to give a go. If she gets a couple of riders to come across to her, the sharp downhill we're about to go into the pasture, maybe be able to benefit with a rider or two, but she's going to have to do the sprint to super tuck, sprint to super tuck type effort in order to get the speed real high. I think this is going to come right back to bite her a little bit here at this
Agreed.
point. But maybe force something out. Looks like they're not too interested. These riders know this course.
No. Well, and if I'm Aeonian, I'm like, Catherine Curie, you go on with your bad self. I would let her dangle 3 seconds out for the next 6K. Just let her wear herself out. We know we've got the horsepower. Jamie Lee Wright, Daniela Estrate, Barbara Frisch. These are some super strong riders. So this is the game of bike racing. As Dave Zabriskie says, let the game play. And that's a big part of bike racing. You don't have to chase everything back immediately. Sometimes it's to your advantage to let a rider roll off of the front, do some extra work, because then when you bring them back, they're a little crispy.
7.98 watts per kilogram here. Here comes the reality, though, of the pack. There's 65 kilometers per hour, pulling big speed here through here. That's going to be a very quick shutdown of the...
I'd still let her go. I wouldn't go so hard to bring her
meters.
back.
Look how quickly this is coming back, though. Look at the meters drop at the bottom of the screen. That's the reality of the speed. And they come flying by, actually. Even as Catherine's putting out orange numbers, that's the reality of that section, of course. As trying to get away, she needed 2 or 3 riders to go with her to really go into some sort of a rotation through there and really be able to snowball some more speed, because there's just too many riders behind.
There's no scenario that works here. When you have 5 riders from one team in a 10-rider group, there's no formula for that, to attack that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they have riders to cover all day. So if I'm the director of Aeonian, I'm like, let them attack, let them get a small gap, and let them sit out there. And then we can beat them in the sprint. Even we'll have a better chance of beating them in the finale when we get to downtown Harrogate. I would encourage them to lay back a little bit if I'm Aeonian right now. You're in such a good position.
Yeah, looking through H. Elliott now, calming down on the front. Probably going to be looking for the next attack. That's going to be the Queen of the Mountain, I would think. That'll be the section.
Have you noticed?
Forward to.
Have you noticed that Aeonian is not doing any work here?
Oh, they don't need to. I mean, their whole thing is just put as many as they can in the front.
And continue to and the other women have realized that attacking this group is like Don Quixote going after a windmill. You're not making the right move. A solo attack out of this group, all you're doing is blunting your chances for a win here today.
Well, I would say at certain sections of the course, but we saw Catherine Curry do huge damage over the Queen of the Mountain. So
to Aeonian? To Aeonian?
Yeah,
there are 5 riders here. They've got 5 riders in the front group. They're not damaged.
I mean, going to the line, they still had a full lap to go. Maybe playing it smart. They had to scrape their way back. They got back with 1 lap to go. But they just got back at the finish line, right? They got back at the lap line. So I think that you could see damage again here. We'll have to wait and see, though. We'll see what kind of matches they have to burn. Maybe they're reserving. We do hear the men just taking off in the background there.
When I see a front group that has 5 riders from one team and every other rider is alone in that group, I give a huge advantage to the team with 5 riders. Massive advantage.
I think they do have a bit. Now, the question is the course hard enough, though, to break that apart?
Well, they're here. They're here right now.
We'll have to wait and see if the course is hard enough, because on that downhill, if Aeonian is not able to glue everything together perfectly with the right amount of timings between the gaps, if they do a procession over the top, it's not full gas all the way to the top. They don't try and break all the riders. Yeah, I'm 100% with you there, but we really will see the test to Aeonian, I think, here in just a moment, to whether or not they're able to glue something together and keep all the riders together in order to chase something back down. If they have the same level, were they sitting and waiting? I think they do have the level, but I think right here we're going to see the differentiation in the riders at this point as Catherine Curry moves her way to the front. The proof will be in the pudding here in just a moment.
Yeah, my experience in real life racing just says that, a team at Aeonian's level. So first off, we're into the 9th race. They have won almost every single time. They are positioned now with 5 riders in this group. Catherine Curie has been incredibly aggressive. Rachel Elliott maybe next, Francesca Hall after that. But this scenario right here is perfect for Aeonian. Catherine Curie is in the wind. So is Hall. The next rider in the wind is going to be MacGyver. Every rider for Aeonian right now is just laying back, licking their lips, waiting for their moment. This is bike racing at the very highest level from Aeonian, because now they're ready to cover any attack if it goes. They can use riders for that and then set up the finale. This has got Daniela Estrate for the win written all over it. I have a hard time imagining a scenario where they don't get that right. Barbara Frisch is going to be very useful. Jamie Lee Wright also is there. So not only do they have numbers, but they've got strong riders amongst those numbers. So it's a quality and a quantity equation that I'm talking about. And here we go. We're at 6K to go, a little bit less than that. Jamie Lee Wright's moving to the front. It's like a Machiavellian chess match on wheels is what we're witnessing right now. It's the mind and the body and the ability to work as a unit with the team. There's only one team right now in this race, in this group, going for the win here, and that's Aeonian. Now, can a rider upset that apple cart? A super strong, motivated rider? Yes, but it's going to take a next level effort to break through and win if you're not on Aeonian here. I give every rider my best wishes, because this is what bike racing is all about. Going in, it's like the movie 300. Now, the other riders here are certainly outgunned, outwomaned. Let's see what they can do about that.
Yeah, it does look like it was a procession to the top or just the tired out legs, the reality is today, and just covered very quickly there. We didn't see the same orange numbers up over the top of the climb. Draft now coming on through with Hall. Rich Elliott taking some points there as well, Arce. And then it's going to be MacGyver coming on through for that next spot. But Aeonian not interested in those points. They got enough riders, as you were saying, playing it calm, playing it cool, making sure they get everybody on through. Gamp's actually the only rider that's hanging on toward the back. Looks like she's following the riders, though, there of Yax and Frisch. And so now the last chance to try and break this apart will be the sprint as a point that's going to come after this long downhill left-hand turn. A little bit of a climb through that sprint. Maybe some opportunity there. It does look like they're saving for a sprint to the line, though, in that final little bump into the finish line with just about 4K to go.
Yeah, and who does that benefit, right? Daniela Estrate. This scenario here. It's like I was saying 10 minutes ago, there's just not a path to a victory, really, unless you go way outside of the lines and crack the code on some very creative bike racing here. Because this scenario it's a mortal combination. I mean, you've got 5 riders from one team that has been dominating in the league. This is an interesting lesson in bike racing, actually, is what do you do in this scenario? How do you guarantee your win? Well, the first thing now is you start covering everything that goes up the road because you want to sprint. Nathan, is there anybody here on paper that has a better 15-second power than Estrate? I don't think so.
Catherine Curry might be able to challenge, but she's put so much out there. MacGyver as well. Yeah. She showed in the first. I mean, MacGyver hasn't really stuck her nose in the wind too much. You know, that first breakaway situation that we saw, I think I saw her more sitting second wheel, third wheel. Maybe a couple turns at the front, maybe putting something out there a little bit to try and put somebody on the back. We saw her. We even got a shout out from some of the crowd team members saying, watch out for this lady. She is showing what she's got in the ZRL. So I'd be on the watch out for Cryo here, maybe keeping it quiet up until those final kicks to the line, because I think she has been riding wheels and watching all of the fireworks go on around her while she's been waiting for that final kick.
So Kristen Yax, another one of the riders on this team, that the American here, and then the Argentinian rider Marina Arce. This is a good finish for her too. It flattens out in the last couple hundred meters, but it pitches up right when you go by the Zwift Draft House there and make that right-hand turn. It's not crazy steep, but it's enough that a light, a watts per kilo type rider has a little advantage there for a few hundred meters. So, yeah, it's going to be really interesting. This is the group, the vanguard here. The Queen of Yorkshire is about to be crowned as they're now inside of 3K to the finish.
A little bit of a kick. Aeonians start to take over. They've been maybe reserving a little bit more than I thought there, Dave. So I think you might have been right. They've just been following wheels thinking, no, that's not going to go anywhere. We'll control this race. And they have been cool as a cucumber at this point. And now I think they might have some fireworks as well to unload to the finish line here. So interesting.
Okay, good.
I thought they were under pressure. I thought they were under pressure a little bit more than they were maybe in that first little go around that lap here, because they're starting to show that they got more kick here than I thought was left.
Yeah, that was what. Yeah. So, all right. Well, Archie here is the rider that. So, what you're going to do now is use a decoy rider. If I'm directing this team, I'm going to attack with Archie. I'm going to force again. I'm going to drive that dagger home here by forcing another chase out of these ladies, because I don't want to see if Catherine Curie has a sprint or not. I would like to get out of that environment. Same thing with Rachel Elliott. All of the riders that are left in this group that aren't on Aeonian are super strong. They're all dangerous. There's no doubt. So always in bike racing, your goal is to increase your chances of winning. Move the odds more and more into your favor. Well, the best way you can do that with 5 riders in this group is to sacrifice one of them. And again, I would attack. Maybe it's Yax, maybe it's Arche, but in the next, I would say at about 27K, and so 1K to go. Jamie Lee Wright is a rider that could finish on the podium here today, so I'm going to save her for finale. I'm going to save Estrate for the finale, and I would start looking at Yax to go at 27K if I was directing this team. Then that would put pressure on to hopefully Catherine Curie and Rachel Elliott, because those are the two I'm probably going to be the most worried about, as well as MacGyver here. But you can see that they're sitting on the front. They better brace themselves, because there's going to be old school fury unleashed by Aeonian here. You can feel that they are right now locked and loaded. Nathan, here we go. This is going to be a finale for the ages as we come up pretty quickly here on one final kilometer of racing on the 2019 World's Course in Harrogate.
Rachel Elliott now calming things down right on the front. Catherine Curry, 4.7 watts per kilogram now pulling on through. Everybody looking to set up really well. Third and fourth wheel, that's what you need to be watching out for. Somebody, though, that can pull through at that second wheel, get a little momentum into the bottom, and then maybe pop a power up here at the bottom of that. Force a chase, as you were saying there, Dave. That's the tactic there. And then get the Daniela Estrate perfectly planted there at the back to follow any wheels, get the speed pulled into the flattening out of this next section of course, and then a sprint to the line. Watch out for that. Now watch out for Rachel, though. She's a smart rider. She's been doing this longer than anybody else in this pack.
Yeah, really interesting now, because they're going to completely trust in their sprint, talking about Aeonian. So remembering now that we're talking about winning a bike race, because there is no doubt that Aeonian is going to take the top points and be the team of the day. That ship sailed. Here we go. We're into the finale. Captain Curie is going to use the point of the course that suits her the best, and Curie has gone. This is going to be interesting, Nathan. It's a battle of wills. Does Curie have enough? I mean, it's certainly a good start as she's inside of half a K to go.
Yeah, 9 watts per kilogram. Can she hold on to this all the way through? Sox watts there. Rachel Elliott, 9 watts per kilogram. And the real battle here for Rachel Elliott is to beat Cryo to the line. She's got an arrow power up. I think this is done. 2 seconds up, 46 kilometers per hour. The real battle behind here from Beth MacGyver. She's going to break Rachel Elliott. 190 beats per minute right now. Does she have the speed to close this down? She's going to run out of landscape, it looks like, but she's able to take down second. The speed to the line. Arce through for third, Hall fourth there, and it looks like it's going to be Daniela Estrate for fifth. That's the situation out on course. What a battle to the line between them. Curie tried to Curie with that kick. She got the gap, and that is not usually seen, actually. That kind of a walkaway situation on that course. Pretty amazing there. Real quickly, everybody, I know we do have other categories to cover. There's a lot going on right now. We're going to go back and forth a whole bunch between all of the coverage that we can possibly get between the women's side in the EMEA as for the other categories within this division, but we also have the men out on course for the West right now. Let's go ahead and jump in with them as they finish up their King of the Mountain right now, as they are into the half a lap point here for their first lap out there. And it's going to be Barnesy here to the front. Innovation. We'll take a look at the standings here in the lower left-hand corner in just a second as they finish up this KOM.
Wow, a lot going on. The classic three-ring circus here. So this is the Europe, Middle East, and Africa men's West race. So they're almost 9K in. Congratulations, boy. Catherine Curie showing you how strong she is, overcoming the entire Aeonian team. But congrats to Aeonian as well, as they're going to be the top team on the day without any doubt about it. So we'll end that, move into the first sprint here.
Boniface!
Is that going to be Brett Boniface? Yeah, here we go. Boniface, one of the most popular riders in esports here for Restart. Going to pick up bonus points extraordinaire here.
Yeah, Boniface to the line there. 1 second gap. Don't think that's coming back. But then it's going to be Omarson here across the line, followed up by Peck over there, it looks like. And then Tabalong and Reese there from Bike Strong KTM. A little bit of a gap here back to Innovation Penetrator. Now, this may break apart a little bit. We've seen this over and over again. Large group, they're going to form up. It's all going to come back together, I think, going into the next sprint point. I think it will be a gap that'll be closed down quick enough to get back involved in the sprint pretty quickly. So I don't think that this is going to be over for this sprint.
This was such a great Worlds course. You can see what really makes a challenging Worlds course is not long, extended climbs. It's the constant. You just never really get a break out here. And so Brett now, after he picks up those bonus points, is going to be brought back into the fold. But I'm going to imagine the group won't be quite as large as the one that he was sprinting out of a few minutes ago.
Got a double setup here. I'm going to catch the finish for the women's Bs because it is the finish line here rather than the sprint there for the men, just as a heads up, everybody. Here we go with McGovern here, Aeonian now. It was Aeonian Banditas that are on the top. There's a battle going on here for some points that are extremely important in that race here. Cassius now coming out of the Netherlands here for the Aeonian Banditas in the B category for the women. McGovern there trying to make something happen. Barker now trying to come through. This is the situation we talked about over and over again here, Dave.
Yeah, it looks like she just saw Catherine Curie do it, trying to pull the same exact maneuver.
Not sure the power's
she's going to have a little tougher time. Yep.
Dobbins is coming. The great coming out of Great Britain now. 9 watts per kilogram. Dobbins up and out of the saddle. 170 beats per minute right now. 42 kilometers per hour. Cassius there from the Netherlands trying to hang on. There's a drafting power up. They're not to the line just yet. Will there be another kick? I think she's got the gap to make it happen here. There's speed behind, but she looks steady enough. A race to attrition, to the line there. Barker now coming through for second. Cassius for third. The Betty squad coming through for fourth. Aeonian there. That's going to be a 15-year-old rider. Shout out for a top 5. What a ride there.
Murden? Is that the Aeonian rider?
Yeah, one of the Aeonian riders there. Said
Is
Aeonian.
right?
It just said A.15, so I'm not sure. There was no name. It just said Aeonian and 15. I'm assuming that's meaning a 15-year-old rider that just came across the line in a top 5 situation for Aeonian just a moment ago. TBR Dance on coming on through here. Murden here now coming through. Betty squad here with the battle to the line, as you can see here. And Kane for Sox for Watts there just a little ways behind this B category. That's the situation as things play out for the top 10.
We're going to start seeing junior esports teams. I know that 2024, as Nikki Cranmer was talking about that the other day, and I'm sure that Nikki has been a trendsetter, that's for sure, and I would guess that we'll start seeing more and more junior women's, junior men's teams forming. That'll be fun. That's kind of the next level of development, I think, that we're going to see, as tomorrow marks a historic day with the Esports World Championships coming up, 50 kilometers of incredible racing to look forward to. All right, Nathan. Well, we're back in with the West A men. There's the catch being made. So the group looks a little smaller, though. Quite a bit smaller. They've made some real separation out here. 112 down to 42 in the front group, it looks like.
Yeah, it looks like they really got some splits here. As you see, Cryogen Belgium now 42 riders, it looks like. Plastic Hockey's off the back a little bit here. Wiley, that's not expected, actually. Z-Sun there. Innovation here with Vardy. So this course can catch you out, that's for sure. Nielsen, DZR, as you do see. Ashton's there. Aiden Sinclair, Canyon Dev. Watch out for this rider. He has been a force to be reckoned with. It's been Canyon Dev, Innovation, Restart, RNK Jedi. I mean, WTRL, this. And then we saw last week, Team Experimental showed up and just out of nowhere, they were at the bottom of the leaderboard when it came to the league standings and just walked away with it. Watch out for these. Is Team Experimental going to have like a 3-race upset? Be on the watch out for that, because that was just out of nowhere. All of a sudden, boom, out go the lights, and they didn't see that that haymaker come. I think that came out of nowhere, left field.
Yeah, I would agree. That's been one of the great stories of the second half of the season, Nathan, is Experimental. Well, let's see what they can do out here today. We're in with Gray, our friend Kim Little on that team as well. As we take a look at the front group, making their way. Boy, they're already to the middle part of this race. So they'll be looking at the finish line pretty quickly here. Yeah.
Absolutely flying. I know, everybody, this is something we're really trying to focus in on. Let us know your feedback on it as well, but we definitely want to catch at least the finishes here for all of the categories as best we possibly can. We do have the women's C's. The men are just going to be starting they're actually at the exact same section of course, except for one lap to course. Yeah, but we do have Poole here from Aeonian here. We're giving a little bit of a kick with this aero power-up. This is going to be the finishing straight. 500 meters to go in the women's C category. It does look like Scott's there from Z-Sun. Cryogen, it looks like with Telegraph here with Weissman. Edvardsson, Sigason's there as well, coming out of Sweden. A lot of Swedish flags actually from Team SC trying to close this down. Bankston there. Sif may be able to come across. This is a little bit more tactical sprint here, Dave.
Yeah, it is. This might be the first real sprint. I mean, it's almost been like, it's kind of a fine line between what is a sprint and what are just riders coming across the line. But they've launched it now, Nathan, dropping the power up here. This is going to go to the line. It looks like a couple of teammates are going to sprint. Actually, they might take the top 3 when you talk about SC Sif here today.
SZ, 1, 2, Wiseman, I think, able, no, to the line. I think KRT just pulled it off with Trinell. I think Trinell got that one. That was a solid little kick there coming from Trinell.
Avoiding the podium sweep. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna maybe take a look at that one. That was a cool little kick to the line there coming from the KISS Racing team. Then we'll jump in with the men's side of things here in just a moment. But nice job there with from Trinell, able to take that down. But let's go ahead and jump on actually in with the men. They are just starting their second lap into the climb. We'll get a look at the points here as well. We've got 40 riders, 38 riders now, as you can see, as some are starting to fall off the back. We're in with Gray there from Team Experimental. We'll also take a look at where things are at for the standings. What's happening here? Here's Gray. Kim Little, not in the kind of spot you would expect him. Zach Harrod's there as well. Are they biding their time? Making sure they can get the points across the line? You know, if they're smart, they are smart. I'm not going to say if they're okay. They know what they're up to. 3 riders sweeping the podium would be better than grabbing any points mid-race. Maybe they're just saying, go ahead. We need as many points as we can. We want to win on the day. Get 40, 30, 40, 35, 30. You know what I mean? I think that's really the plan here from Team Experimental, why they're sitting on the back here.
Yeah, they're kind of playing the long game, right? And that makes sense. Much like with Aeonian earlier, they didn't have to win that bike race to be the top team on the day. But I would even go back and say, though, any bike racer I've ever met, Nathan, that doesn't matter. They still want to win the bike race. I've never heard of a top-level elite pro saying, you know what? They said third was good enough, so I said, that's cool. I'll just take third. You know, they're always going to go for it, right? I mean, isn't that the mentality that makes you a racer, not a rider?
Yeah, 100%. You always, if you can grab a win on the day, stage wins are always good, regardless of what the overall in the GC is. Now, if it's going to drain the tank, though, completely, I have seen situations, though, where it's like, let that go. I don't want to waste anything. They're not a threat, on this day because I know I've got more racing. But this isn't back-to-back stage racing. And since it is a week between each one of the races, full gas can be done.
I would say that every rider in that front group of that women's A race was racing to win the race. And Catherine Curie was the one that got it right. And boy, she was strong from the start to the finish as well, much like Brett Boniface is out here today. This restart team is one of the better teams as we take a look at 150 points for them. Plastic Cockneys and INC Penetrator, that's one of the best battles that we've got going on out here, Nathan, between the Cockneys and the Penetrators here. Tied, and we've only got 2 races left. It'll be interesting to see what it looks like after today. That won't be a tie anymore. There's no way it could be. One of those 2 teams has to move into stand alone second place. Team Tour 2000 Callis with 135, they got their own problems to deal with, don't they? It's only 1 point back is WTRL Skylab. So we've got some really good battles shaping up. Today is going to be decisive here in the ZRL. Thanks for joining us out there on Zwift Community Live as we're down to it. The business end, the final lap on the 2019 UCI Worlds course is underway. This is the front group for the Europe, Middle East, and Africa men's West group. Got that right. A lot of letters. Yeah.
a lot of letters there. I want to give a shout out to the D category for the women as well. Kate Barnes and the herd of Dolphins there. They're making their way to the line right now with Steph White, Beth Higgs from Aeonian Diosas. See if we can jump in with them. They are just finishing up, I believe. We'll see if we can grab their points of view in just a second as we get into the second half of this lap, though. The men's KOM here are going to be coming up in just a moment. That's the next point out there, and you do see the current situation for the league standings in this. We'll also be covering a little bit of the league, the rest of the categories as well for their finishes, at least amongst the team league here for the West in Division 1A. So if you are looking for that coverage, it will be coming in after the men's A's do finish here. So 142, though, that battle, I think you're correct there. Innovation, Plastic Cockneys, and they got a lot on the line. All the way to the finish here. There's, Restart have really solidified themselves, but that second place is up for grabs.
Sort of, I would say similar to what we saw with the women, right? Restart is basically the Aeonian here. They just need to not screw it up at this point. I mean, all they need to do is ride the way they've been doing, and they're going to be good. But as we said, these guys don't hear that. They want to race for the win out here today. The Cockneys and the Penetrators are going to really be looking at each other out here as I'm trying to do some math here, Nathan. Looking to see amongst the Plastic Cockneys and INC Penetrators, does any team have an advantage if you look at it here right now in this front group? We talk about stacking the top 10. Well, this is a group of about, let's say, 30 for the front group here.
Yeah, I would say maybe 40 riders.
A little more.
40 riders.
Yeah,
maybe
a little
bit more,
yeah.
Real quick. Yeah, I do want to jump in with the women. Here's the finish of the women's for the D category, everyone, just as a heads up. We're going to go ahead and bring that right on in. It's going to be the herd of Dolphins. They've flipped themselves away. It looks like here. And nice little kick here to the line. They're working well together, actually.
Good job, ladies.
White and Kate, a little bit of a kick, getting the better of her teammate, it looks like there. Nice job to her. A few riders back here with RC and B Higgs here, as well as Lizzie Archer here, as you do see from Aeonian. They're going to be rounding out the top 3 and 4 situation. So this looks like it got blown apart out on this course, actually, amongst the women D category.
Hey, Nathan, in all of your time racing and coaching, isn't stick-to-itiveness one of the most impressive things that you see from riders, right? Those that they're not winning, they're not in the pro race, but they show up every damn week and do their best. Well, I'm going to give that credit to these ladies. We're into the 9th race of the ZRL, and here they are, still here, still fighting, still racing. That's what it's all about, sticking with it. And you got one race to go, and you can say that you were a part of the full season of ZRL's first inaugural edition. It's been incredible. And that's Lizzie Archer. She does a great job
across
running
the line.
Yep, she's cool. Really big fan of Lizzie. Does a great job with the Aeonian socials.
Something I want to say, too, is that, some of these riders I think are having the most fun, like out of everybody who's out there. And the reason being there, in my opinion, is, I've been racing bikes for a long time, and you show up to a bike race and it's fun to win at the top level. Okay, at the top level, it's fun to win. That's why I'm showing up, because it's fun to win. You're not necessarily having the most camaraderie, team fun, when you're in it and everything is just about winning. I think that these ladies, they want to win. It's all about the team and the camaraderie to get the best of it. But at the same time, I think they're also having some of the most fun. The most team environment is really going to be important.
Camaraderie, right?
That whole side of things, and finishing for the team, finishing for yourself. I think and getting that effort out in there. So I just remember watching amongst a lot of the community in real life racing and now also in Zwift racing, where the most smiles were maybe, as well as the most laughs and the most around the campfire hanging out. And I think now we have around the Discord hanging out. Now we have, if you get into some of these team Discords I'm getting invited to now, and there's so much fun chatter going on in those groups. I mean, it feels like around the bonfire before a mountain bike race or after kind of a situation where they're all having this is what happened during my race and how it went here. And I mean, it's a really great thing to see develop.
This is exactly what happens after the finish line at any bike race anywhere around the world, but it's the 2020 edition of that. Discord, get together, tell your story, have a couple laughs. I agree. That's the community that, Zwift, that's the community in Zwift Community Live. It means a lot to us. That's for sure. It means a lot to these folks. We're back in, though, with the Amen. Now, these guys aren't messing around. It's all business at the front right now. We're in with Santander here as they're at 21K into a 28K race. Man, this is going to be done and dusted quickly here. One of the most recognizable flags in the game there, the Welsh flag popping up. This is the group.
Let's go ahead and set the table here real quickly here, Dave, because we're about to hit the King of the Mountain for the second time. I want to make sure everybody knows exactly where we are at in this race because we have been back and forward just a little bit. So second KOM, 21.5 kilometers. That's where we're hitting, 21.6. They're about to hit their second point for points. Then it's going to be the sprint. Then it's going to be the finish. It's going to be over so incredibly quickly here. This is the situation. We've got Restart in here. Plastic Cockneys, Innovations here as well. Tour 2 Callis is here. Lots of the big names. We've got Canyon Dev in here. Evo. All of the big teams that are battling out for West, they are here. This is it. Three more climbs, really. KOM, the sharpest. The sprint, a little bit less. And then that little bit of a bump to the line. We'll see who ends up taking it out in this race number 9. Zwift Racing League presented by WTRL.
But Nathan, you're 100% right. If you want to attack this race with old school fury and try to win on your own or out of a small group, you've got this last climb here, this sector, to make your mark. We're going to see if anybody's going to be able to do that. The race is on full gas right now. And problem for a racer who wants to attack, Nathan, is there's a lot of fresh legs, relatively fresh legs in this big group, because these guys have been able to spend a lot of time in the draft here. Even though the speed has been incredibly high, it looks like that's going to be Santander again, making a bit of a move. You see power-ups being dropped left, right, and center, as this is going to be, again, some bonus points are coming up. But I think we're really making our way into the big play for the finale now, Nathan.
Yeah, looking for 8.4 watts per kilogram consistently in the front here. Santander, big move here by this rider. Interesting to see. Not a rider I'm super familiar with here. Boniface, will he be able to come across? We saw him take the points down the first time around. Now it's going to be Marston here. Fusion Dev making a little bit of move. Here is the Arrow power-up. A little bit of a lead-out, perhaps. Ali Peckover hanging on the wheel. Here comes Boniface now. There's the kick. He's been biding his time, I think, as he thought Santander was going to fade, and he was correct there. Have they left it too late? I don't think so. And Marston's now 10 watts per kilogram. Boniface pulling on through. It's really the battle here before Marston and Boniface. Boniface 13 watts per kilogram. There's the kick to the line. I think he'll do it again here, Dave.
He's got it. Yeah, I think so, Nathan. Brett Boniface is one of the well-known quantities out here. This guy always delivers, and Brett's going to pick up the points here. Again, these points all get thrown into a basket with your team. We'll collect all those points and find out who the top squad is. But up to this point, that team right in front of you, Restart, has been the kings of the West in Europe, Middle East, and Africa. So Brett Boniface, the Canadian here, another rider with tremendous experience on this platform, who's also really strong. And let's see what happens when they come back up to him here. Pretty steep descent. As we looked at that course profile, you can see the road only tilts up one more time before they go into the finale. And that is obviously an uphill run to the line here.
Do I know how hard this course is, Dave, for this? Oh my gosh. I'm not sure I've seen.
Yeah, I want to hear this.
5-5.
Yeah.
Colin Peck has put out 5.5 watts per kilogram. Ingvar Omarsson, he has put out
Wow.
5.7, 5.8 from Manuel Ferrari. Like, I mean,
That's
this
amazing.
is insanity to just hang on with this level at this level.
So
that's the kind of wattage you got to put out for 30 minutes straight.
And I mean, you could say that when you see numbers that are almost a full watt per kilo lower than that it's a tough race, right? I mean, this is beyond. This is extra.
Yeah, this is one of the hardest races I think they've seen so far. Violi here now, 12 watts per kilogram, as you can see, 800. Whoa, wow.
Wow.
What an attack.
Unreal.
But I don't think, here's the thing.
It doesn't go clear.
No,
Yeah.
and this is the reason why it's a bad spot to try and carry. So, no offense to Violi there, though. I've done it before. I've done that multiple times before in that exact section. He had to do it from third wheel, and he had to do it 2 seconds later. And it would have worked. It would have worked if he would have carried through from, because that was 14 watts per kilogram right there. 14 watts per kilogram just got put out there for 3 seconds. That isn't exactly enough to pull away, I don't think. We'll see what happens here. Santander now pulling on through. This is a rider I said I'm not familiar with, but I'm going to look. This is Berlin Marathon 2018, 2 hour 34. He said he was very fat with 82 kilograms back then. Equivalent, but now, I mean, it looks like he has really come a long ways over the last 2 years. Now he's 76.6 kilograms. August 14, 2020, in his Zwift Transparency video on Attacks Neo 2. This is a real deal rider here. I'd say innovation. Not innovation, but who is he riding for? He's riding for Skylab. They've made a good pickup here with a very motivated individual.
Yeah, that's our friends at WTRL as we're looking at very, very dangerous here now, Nathan. Let's turn our attention to this 3-rider group. So one of them is Brett Boniface, Santander another. And your man Violi here is put himself in a very nice position as they're going to be looking at 2K to go. Peloton lurking right behind them, but they're getting out in front of this one. Proactive move. It looks like Boniface isn't interested in sticking with these guys. He's going to go back to the Peloton and believe that it's going to come all back together, but these two are going to go all in order to win at this level. And what an incredibly aggressive race this has been. You have to risk losing. Nathan, these guys are showing a lot of heart out here. This is a very interesting move late in the race. Ladies and gentlemen, they've been in the bank, they've got the money, and now they're in a getaway car, hightailing their way around Yorkshire.
Interesting enough that Boniface didn't stay with that there. Santander.
I agree. I thought for sure he would.
Violi, he loves these kind of moves. This guy out of Israel, I've seen him do it. I've raced against him doing it, and he loves these. He doesn't like going to the line for a sprint, actually, I've noticed. He likes to make moves. He likes to try and get the breakaway, and this is going to cause some mayhem, I think, in the chase, because the chase is going to have to burn some matches they might not want to from riders that could be involved in the sprint. And it's such a small group. There's not a lot of matches to burn.
Yeah, and they really burned through this final kilometer really, really quickly here. It's that right-hand turn at the Zwift Draft House where you begin the uphill pitch to the finish line. That's the man that was with the 2 leaders earlier. As Boniface is back in this group, it's a big group. I still give the advantage to this group right now, Nathan, but I love the heart that we're seeing up there from Violi and
They're almost out of sight.
It's a 7-second gap. I mean, this is no joke. Nathan, they might have given them a little too much leash here, as this course is going to be over before you know it, folks. They're down to it. This is the business end. They make that left-hand turn. Now, the next right-hand turn takes them into the climb to the finish. They're going to stay away, Nathan. I really think they're going to stay away here.
Look at the willingness from Baptiste here, too. He has just stuck his nose in the wind, and he's pulled Violi around here, actually. Interesting enough to see. Violi, he's been saving this power up here. He might make this happen, especially with the feather power up here now. Where is the rest of the... I think they got it. I don't think that he can be caught. He's got the kind of kick. Santander, 12 watts per kilogram, trying to get back on terms. Will he be able to do it? He's got the kick, 945 watts right now. He might come over the top. No, it's not going to happen. There's nothing left in the tank. It looks like maybe a dropout, actually. Poor Baptiste. It's a dropout. No, Santander. He's got to be just screaming at his set. But, I mean, flat tires happen in the final. It's an unclipped type situation. and Innovation walk away with this one. Ashton's coming through. WTRL, here we go to the line. What's going to happen? Is it going to be Boniface? No, Boniface not going to make. Oh my gosh, that was close. I'm going to take a look at the replay on that one because that was way too close to call.
Isn't it fantastic, Nathan? Boniface gambles that it's going to be a group sprint and gambled wrong there as Diveroli catches a little bit of a break, a technical clipping out is my guess there. Nathan, that's what bike racing is all about. That was the classic Jens Volt breakaway. If you don't think you're going to win the sprint, you've got one option, and that's to attack with old school fury.
Sorry, but the music keeps playing on that replay. I absolutely love it, and at the same time, I'm like, are we starting a new? Why are we starting a new broadcast here? What's happening?
I felt like I was giving a highlight package. It was
a great highlight. Really... You're doing a great job. It's a great highlight package you're doing there. Absolutely. We should probably we can jump in with the B category here in a second. I want to catch that replay.
There's so much racing today.
I want to catch that replay one more time because it was really, really amazing to see how that ended up playing out there with Fiorelli.
Nathan, how rare is it, right, that we see a breakaway stick like that? That's a 1 in 500 kind of finishes. We witnessed something very cool here today.
Yeah, well, I mean, Santander was really the sacrificial lamb in that situation, to be honest. I mean, and he even ended up with it's such a bummer to see what happened with his dropout there. Ashton. Right to the line with Boniface.
Wow. I think Brett got it. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like, bro. But look at the speed coming through. Look at these other riders coming through. Now, the camera angle might not grab it for us here. Canyon Dev, Aiden Sinclair.
Oh, boy.
Look at the speed from Sinclair right to the line.
Oh, we got a back-end API situation here,
look at it.
folks.
I think Sinclair, look at it.
Oh. Yeah, I'm with you. So that, Nathan, is one of those things where you say it's impossible to know. You'd have to look at the back-end API there.
Yeah, because even Nielsen from DZR is right there as well. I mean, James Barnes, his battle there between him and Herod, with Team Experimental, very, very close all around.
Well, what an incredible afternoon here in North America we have had. Racing still continues throughout the day. We're just in the middle part of it. Actually, we still have more racers out on course. I love the fact that the ZRL isn't just for the elites. It's for everybody. So if you want to race next season, don't be shy. Find a team. Go talk to my friends at Cryogen. They'll get you set up, or there's so many different programs. Socks for Watts has a men's team now as well, Nathan, if you're interested. I know that you're a big unicorn guy.
All about the unicorn. I got unicorn socks.
That's your reputation. Yeah.
I didn't know about
guy,
this.
Right?
I didn't know. Chat, can you help me out here? I didn't know I had a reputation for unicorns, but I got... DZR here now, as you do see 10% gradient as they come on in. Hall's going to be bringing, they've got this check mark here. Van Merhag, AAF here. A little bit of a kick from the Belgian rider now in the CRCA kit. Doe's here, though, Innovation. Look at the ramp up here coming from Doe's. Doe's going to try and battle it to the line. 12 watts per kilogram here coming from the Belgian rider. But the aero power up may be enough to hang onto the wheel and come over the top. This is really drowned out sprint. I mean, this is Cipollini style, just wind it out kind of a situation. And Axelson might get the better of it. Where's the speed? BRT coming on through. Will it happen? Oh my gosh! BRT!
Oh my gosh.
BRT made it happen.
Schultz, the Dutch guy. Whoa!
Nice job to Schultz there. That was it. I mean, let's take a look at that. That was a great sprint to the line, as you see here.
That felt like a lifetime of sprinting, didn't it? Like,
look at where Schultz is. Look at where he's coming from, though. Like, let's go back just a little bit here. Watch where he launches from. He launches from. Well, it's not in camera when he actually launches. But watch.
He's not in the same zip code.
Look, 12 watts per kilogram right there. Look at where his 12 watts per kilogram starts from way earlier. So he's back in 8th wheel or so. And now he's launching right now. These two are battling it out up here. Schultz is making his way through wheels. This is your perfect And he's got an arrow power up that
going
kind of
from
wheel to wheel situation, winding yourself through, carrying the speed through, and look at right at the line there, ends up pulling it off. I mean, with a gap too. And DZR gets the better of the two lead out men even too. I mean, what a job there done by those riders with their timing there. As
that's like the Bering Strait of sprinting. You go from rider to rider, just like going from Russia to Alaska, an island after island, right? Just short jump from short jump. Incredibly smart sprinting, well timed. That's a rider to watch.
Looking to see if we can find Reinecke, Thomas Reinecke. Glory. Here we go. Glory's going to help us out here, get us into the C category race. This is the current situation at the front end of the C's for the men in the West. Reinecke here now. They're bringing it in here for Germany now. This is quite the pack. Coming in here. The Rhinos are here. Codwalder. Let's see if I can get a little bit of an idea as well. If we got a little bit more time before they hit the actual finish line. This will give us an idea of why any of these teams are battling it out right now. The West Division 1C. These are going to be your current standings there. Bugatti, we're seeing just for glory. So Reinke's actually the glory for the second place overall team, 132. Not seeing any Bugatti riders though in this group, are there?
That would be a big surprise. I am looking. I'm with you though. Although that almost seems hard to believe.
Not showing up on the day, maybe thinking that they've got this in the bag, perhaps? Not sure.
Right.
Zwift Scotland
That
now
doesn't
making
seem
their way
like
to the
that
front.
would be their style. That just doesn't quite compute for me.
So 120, 122 KRTC glove guns versus Zwift Scotland is a battle there for fourth and fifth place. And this is going to be Zwift Scotland in the front there. Belgian Zwift riders, Rhinos there. They're in here as well. Plenty of them, plenty of representation, I believe, for the Rhinos.
Brian Montague is there for Bugatti.
For Bugatti,
So
got it. Right here, TFC,
Yep.
got it. Yep, I see it. There's the TFC kit. Another TFC kit on the left there, as you do see, that's going to be Beastin'. So, yep, they're still represented. Another TFC kit. Okay, so they're the TFC boys. My mistake.
Good.
So, Bav is there as well. Junior rider, actually, with Bav there in the C category.
All right, so that's your front group. We've got a good look at this finale here, done our recon work today. It makes such a big difference, Nathan, when you're racing, whether it's in real life or on this platform that I love so much, that if you know what you have in front of you, it really allows your brain to become part of the equation as well, rather than just your physicality, and that makes a huge difference. So these guys, it's not going to be too long until they hit really what begins the finale there. And here we go.
Yeah,
It's on
It's going to
like
be that little bit of a kick.
Donkey Kong.
10% uphill gradient now. It's going to be Crane, Zwift Scotland, trying to lead things out initially, but will they be able to hang on? Lots of feather power-ups. Perfect timing for them. Over the top.
There's a beast.
Caldwell
What a monster. Yeah.
A little bit of kick from the
Holy
KRT
cow.
team, and they were in the battle with Scotland, trying to hold off 2 points here. Every single placing is going to matter for that top three situation here as well, because the Belgian Zwift riders, Rhinos 3, they're in trouble for losing that top 3 spot up against some of these other teams right now. Here comes Ampler. Tryhard Z-Sun, though, as well. Codwelder fading now. We may see another repeat of what we just saw with the rider with a late kick. Ampler trying to hold off. It looks like he's going to be able to do so. The German rider as Z-Sun fade. And it's going to be a roll to the line. A little bit of a kick there coming from McDonald out of the US of A. He might have
Just timing
snagged
it wrong.
third there, but unable to grab. I mean, he had the sprint, but it looks like he timed it a little bit off, waited just a little too long.
Timing is a big, big part of the finale in this sport. No doubt about it. Going back in with Porteous here. Going to finish up strong. We are in, this is the C's that we've got now. So we're into the finale of this wave of racing. Our European segment is just about wrapping up. Again, all the different categories out here racing on the same course, same distance as well. So this is Toya, Herd of Fools. Oh, I learned, Nathan, from Martin. Learned a lot from Martin. Thank you, Martin. Fools and Horses is a TV show on BBC, or actually, I don't know if it's on BBC or not, but in the United Kingdom. So that's where that name comes
well,
from.
you're just like, what's the UK? So it must be.
be on
It's just,
BBC,
we'll
right?
just throw
No, but there's
BBC out there. Just start saying all of the network names, and you'll get one of these.
That's funny.
days.
I know another ITV it could be on in the United Kingdom. But anyways, we need to watch an episode of Fools and Horses.
Quick little shout out here to Carissa.
Yep.
She's saying, of course TFC is up there. I mean, come on, commentators. Like,
She's a brainiac.
loving it. Absolutely loving
I
it.
love-
Letting us know that this was brutal. She's out there racing as well. Good job, the TFC startup, she's saying here. So we are jumping back in with the D category. This is the lead. They just came over the Dirt King of the Mountain. They've got another 4K to go or so. They are being chased down, though, by Manel here from TFC, as you can see. And it's going to be Herd here now with Herd of Fools and Horses. Just as you were saying here, maybe we can get a little more information from our man, Martin. He hangs out all day long, right alongside us, actually, for all of the broadcasts, if you didn't know. Martin, tell us a little bit about this TV program, Martin, Herd of Fools and Horses.
It's
So it's
only
about a
Fools
vet.
and Horses. It was a David Jason back in, I think it started in the 80s, and maybe even earlier than that. But there was Del Boy, who was a market trader and dreamt of this time next year we'll be millionaires, as he used to say. And then there was Rodney, his brother, who was always called the Plonker. And then there was Trigger. There's actually quite a couple of people from the Harry Potter cast that were kind of founded amongst that, Only Fools and Horses too.
Nice.
Actually
nice.
sounds
Very
good.
Cool. Very
I'd
cool.
watch.
Absolutely love it.
It's
Now,
very
why do we have a
funny.
U.S. flag on the Fools and Horses team? I'm not understanding. What is this? What's happening here? I don't know. I'm not quite getting
Well,
this,
so
but-
So one thing I have learned.
Thanks, Martin.
Nathan,
Thank
is
you,
the
Martin.
sec-
That's WTRL
Yeah, thanks,
headquarters
Martin.
coming on in, giving us the lowdown on Fools and Horses. That's as
You know,
we can
I
finish
have
up
to
the
give
D
it to
category.
Martin. Nathan, anytime we've had questions about Canada, where Martin lives now in Calgary, or the United Kingdom, he comes through. He's hip to pop culture and bike racing, so he's not just the brains of the operation over there. So thanks, Martin. And we should always give Steven a shout out too. Those two work so hard at WTRL. I know that the Nations Challenge was a huge success, and those guys work so hard behind the scenes to make or not even behind the scenes. They just work hard to make those events awesome for people. So on behalf of thousands of Zwifters, thanks, guys.
I
So,
feel like
Nathan, have you
I
had-
feel like oh, never mind. I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna leave this. I was gonna make a Joe Rogan joke here to like go get the what is it? Alex in the room? I'm gonna leave it alone. Anyways, grab. He goes and grabs the quick little info point. Oh, check that one. Check that one. Check that one. Check that one. He's on it. Martin's on it right off the bat there. So, anyways, Leak here now. JR now. Cryogen. They're walking away with this one. It looks like good little
This is-
two-man TT here up the road.
This is the team I'm putting my application in with for the next season, Cryogen. I don't know if they need another weak D rider, but if they do, I'm their guy.
Looking through, I think it's Jamie, actually. That was my mistake. Jamie, I got it right. Now, I bet you maybe Martin was going to check me on that one, too. Go grab that info, Jamie. I might not be the only person who's watching Joe Rogan podcast, so maybe maybe I'm way out left field here. But Cryogen now.
I am.
No. Oh, gotcha. Right on. Appreciate that, Dave. At least somebody else is here, and I'm not out in left field all alone now. Fools and Horses now trying to pull it in for fifth. I think they might be able to have a chance to bring Manel back if Manel does fade. 2.0 watts per kilogram. Just out of sight. 10 seconds. It's a pretty good gap here, but we've got a climb in front of us in just a minute. And as we do know, those do have the opportunity there to bring things back.
You think you get more out of yourself, Nathan? So 10-second gap separating you. Would you rather be the chaser or the chased?
Oof. It depends on how I'm feeling.
What gets you more motivated?
It depends on how I'm
right.
feeling at the time, really. I mean, if I'm leading the race, Bontrager had
That's a
actually
tough
an
question,
always
isn't it?
always lead thing on the mountain bike branding a while back ago, and I kind of like took that to heart at one point. But that's a mountain biker's thing because leading in a single track is almost always going to be better, you know. But and if I'm feeling,
It's funny.
if
I
I'm
think
not
of
feeling it though.
cyclocross.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I think a cyclocross where you can really put pressure on a rider right in front of you when you're chasing, right? You've got that motivation of that carrot dangling in front of you, right? Where some riders like to feel the heat coming from behind, and that motivates them. I'd rather be chasing and waiting for someone to make a mistake and pounce in the last second. But
I think
it's a mindset thing.
Early on in my racing, I was one of those riders that just always put himself in the hurt locker, like way in over my own physiological head, and just hurt, because I was racing. I jumped into the citizen category, not knowing what my talent was, coming just out of hockey and BMXing as a kid, and I didn't start racing until I was 19, 20 years old, and out on the mountain bike, and boom, I'm racing citizen races, and very quickly made my way through the ranks. But cat in it's Cat 5, Cat 4 races very quickly if you want to do some comparisons there across categories or across disciplines. But so then I found myself over my head a lot, though, the moment that I jumped into some more quote unquote serious guys who were training 10 to 12 hours a week, at that more comp or Cat 3, Cat 2 level. And I always didn't like being chased because I always would put myself out there. I wasn't a controlled racer. I always was like, well, I'm either out the front or I'm out the back kind of a situation. So I think that's why
go big chased, or go home.
I have a really like almost scared place in my heart about, like, I don't like that feeling of being chased because I like the feeling of walking away. I guess maybe it's a semantics thing for me, because I like the feeling of breaking away. I don't like the feeling of being chased. If I'm being chased, it means they're closing the gap on me. If I'm breaking away, great. I feel good about that. And you know the difference. A lot of times in your head about whether or not you're suffering or if you're in control of your race.
Well, what do you think here, Nathan, if you're on cryogen? Do you sprint against your teammate? It doesn't look like they're going to. These guys must know. Well,
JR's giving 4. JR's giving 4.
No,
they see Manel coming because TFC is trying to make an upset. Oh my gosh. It's going to happen. No way.
Oh my goodness.
They did it.
I did not see that coming.
I didn't
not
either.
See that coming.
They slept on it. It looks like they even had it too. I think they slept on it. Oh, no.
Nathan, I feel forced to note that second and third is still more points than first, right? So they're going to do great as a team, right? But
I can't believe that just happened.
That's a bummer.
Man.
I feel like that summed up my entire racing career, to tell you the truth, right there.
Oh, and
close,
look at
but
Cryo.
no cigar.
Look at Lee. He had 13 to give. I think they
didn't even get second.
Were they watching the broadcast where they were like, oh, look, we're on TV. Oh, no, we're losing on TV. Oh, man. Good go, though, guys. Good go, guys.
To Cryogen's credit, I think they're going to be the top team, or it's going to be hard to imagine a scenario where they're not. But that's the story of Zwift Racing League, is that so many different elements. It's not just about how your team does. There's always going to be riders looking to have an exceptional effort out here. I have an antenna now, if you've had a chance to notice, a new antenna hooked up so I can communicate with Martin.
Yeah, he's just straight direct line to Martin right in the ear there. Yeah. Just the antenna is popping up. So liking the antenna. Good, nice new headset. Nice new headset for sure.
Thanks.
Loving it. So we do have a lot of results to go through all of those. And then if you're looking for your race later today, if you are jumping into the Americas, we will be on that. Me and Dave will be on the East. And then Dave and Kate will be on the Americas West. A lot of battles heating up there. But I think on the men's East, EMEA East, we do have those. Let's take a look at those, Dave, as they have come in. And that finished like an hour and a half.
Seems like a lifetime ago.
Yeah, lifetime ago. Here we go, though. There it is. Across the line. Devin Kirshner, Dave.
Another one bites the dust. Stefan Kirchmeier, your champion. 5.1 watts per kilo. 35 minutes of racing over 28K for the Austrian. That's great. So Matthias Druss in second for Belgium there. Florent Maillard for France. What an international podium this is. Is any flag represented twice here? No, that's so cool. Gustav Herby in fourth for Denmark. Is the South African flag for Eddie Oile. There, good job, Eddie. Fifth place today. Gustavo Aquino In 6th, Chris Uberti. In 7th, Daniel Ricciardo. 8th, Alexej Kalaman in 9th, and then Vivian Redesbacher in 10th. That's your top 10 for our Europe, Middle East, and Africa East Division 1.
Looking down through, we do see Martin N. able to take it down there. That was a solid sprint to the line there, coming through for 4.1 watts per kilogram on the day, 38.21. Cal Sim coming on through 3.8, 4.47 seconds back. Oh my gosh, it's like tied at the line. That must have been to the thousandth there between Sousa and Kim. So that's the top 3 situation there. Martin Vissing coming on through. And then Tom DeSmet there in 5th. It's going to be Klaus Overgaard there in 6th place. Dennis Vandersom in 7th. Tim! I love this guy. Every week I was talking about Tim like a ton. Yeah. Like I love this guy. Tim. And he's got his own brand now out of Belgium. 112 back there. Mike Taylor in 9th, followed up by Thomas Zundert for R2 out of Germany there in 10th place. C category.
You know Tim? Yeah, I know Tim from Belgium. Heck yeah. All right. So Enrico Quadrelli, the Italian, taking the win for our C's here. Flavian Ocan is the Frenchman in 2nd. Magnus Wikland in 3rd. Congratulations again to all the Swedes that took part in the Nations Challenge, taking the win there. Richard Dalen in 4th. Julian Bayer in 5th. Roman Videker in 6th. Frank Klum in 7th. David Zurali in 8th, Magnus Carlsen in 9th, and then Snorre Forley in 10th.
So I take a quick look here at the D category. It's going to be Roy Iverson, followed up by Diogo Diaz there. And then Salmon Gregory coming on through for 3rd place. Viegas, George Lincho, Martin Jordvik coming out of Sweden. Good to see Martin Hammer for 6th place. Patel Solberg there for the Vikings, followed up by Francis Greisen out of Belgium for 8th place. Stefan Krona there in Sweden for SZ in 9th, and then Gerald Rettenbacher. That's going to be your top 10 in the D category for EMEA East 1, Division 1D. Women's results coming in. Here it is. Katherine Curry, top spot.
Well, boy, she really upset the apple cart. I mean, I talked a lot about how it was Aeonian's race to lose. Well, these ladies did a great job of proving me wrong. Katherine Curry taking the win. Beth McIver out of Scotland in 2nd. Marina Arce 3rd. Francesca Hall had a great ride for 4th. Danielle Estrate ending up in 5th. Jamie Lee Wright 6th. Barbara Frisch 7th. Rachel Elliott in 8th. Louise Gamst in 9th. And then Kristen Yax rounds out the 5th rider from Aeonian in our top 10 today. That's your A women. So there's no west or east for the women, just right down the middle here. I'll throw it back to you, Nathan, for the B's.
Melanie Dobbins across the line first, followed by Bex Barker. Then it's going to be Jessica Cassius there in 3rd. Ashley throwing down for 4th, followed up by Ariel Verhoeven in 5th. Rose McGovern there coming in for 6th. Ild Wrong in 7th. Then it's going to be Kelly Murden coming in for 8th. Sony in 9th. And Nicola Kay rounding out your top 10. The sprint to the line there was close between Bex Barker and Melanie Dobbins, able to take it down though out of the UK. And here you go, it's the Z at the top.
Thank you. As this is Jenny Sigurdsson's day, the SZ rider. They went 1-2, the Swedes, in our C women's race. So way to go, Jenny. And Malin Bankston taking the silver medal is the American Kelsey Tranel in 3rd. Camilla Edvardsson Stanvold, CES there, another Swedish rider, making 3 in the top 4. Very impressive. Amy Weissman in 5th. C. Scott in 6th. Mandy Poole 7th. Helen Thomas in 8th. Anne-Marie Benoit in 9th. And I think that's the Luxembourg flag. Haven't seen that one recently. And then Vicky Stedman there in 10th. I'm going to check on that flag, Nathan. Or maybe everyone on Twitter could check.
I think you might be right there on the Luxembourg flag. Oh, good shout out there. We saw this battle of the line between the herd of Dolphins, and it was Kate Barnes across the line there in first against her teammate Steph White. Then Beth Higgs followed up by Lizzie Archer. And then Eng coming through for 5th. Angela Twickle there followed up by Debbie Thomas. Melanie Jefferson, Ness Hilsden, and then Chelsea Williams. That's your top 10 in the women's category. Now, we did just get done watching the West for the men, and the league standings are updating, but I am being told that the ZRL is again too popular. So we're going to be waiting just a moment here. We'll see if we can get some servers to load up. But from what I'm looking at, I believe we may have to have a wait on some more results for everybody. Apologies on that. We know a lot of people like to grab their screenshots. They like to have the shout out of the results. We did watch them across the line there where there were some back-end API situations to the line, though. We'll have to wait and see how those end up playing out. I believe Zwift Power will have it. It's being worked on at the moment. We're being told. But we've been here for a while. We're at 2.5 hours here. So we'll shoot that over to WTRL.racing to get those results and those standings, everybody. Those will be up in as soon as they possibly can be. Don't worry about that. They will all be calculated, though. Martin's really great about keeping that all set and ready to go. As a look forward to tomorrow's World Championships, we'll take a look back again at what happened with the Zwift Nations Challenge over the weekend. Also, obviously, go and check out there's lots of press releases out there. There's going to be all kinds of places that you can watch the World Championships tomorrow. But before that happens, make sure to tune in tonight for the Americas East as well as the Americas West. I'll be on board here with Dave Towle next to me, obviously, again, for Americas East. Then it's going to be Kate Bates and Dave on for the West. Still some battles heating up. Watching out for that finesse freight train that's been taking things down for sure. There's been there's some great battles as well going on in the West. We've got some highlights as well as some community stuff to give some shout outs for. So be able to make sure to hit those follow buttons, turn on your bells and notifications. Comment always helps as well with the algorithms. We appreciate everybody out there. I'm Nathan Guerra, Dave Towle. See what Dave was doing in the Wild West with the Nations Challenge and how things played out there. And we'll see you in a couple hours for America's East. As always, everybody, right on.
Once in every rider's life comes a time when they can step up. A time when their effort truly matters. And for thousands of riders across the planet, that time came in the Zwift Nations Challenge. Thousands set off looking for glory, representing their country, ready to bring home the title. A simple challenge lay in front of them. Ride as fast as you can over the 50-kilometer UCI Cycling Esports World Championships course and add your number to your nation's tally. When the sun went down on the final time zone and all the rides were ridden, the nation with the fastest average time would win. It was as simple as that. The sun rose in the east and the Japanese took to the course to set a benchmark time for the rest of the world to beat. Their riders crossing the line in an awesome average time of 1 hour, 15 minutes, and 56 seconds. Over the coming 2 days, the wave of riders cascaded across the planet, through Africa, Europe, and eventually to the Americas. Thousands left every last watt on the road of this tortuous course. One by one, Zwifters powered through for their flag, and one by one, countries posted their times. First, Norway challenged for the lead. Then Poland took over, but neither could bridge the gap to Japan. France, Germany, and the United Kingdom were all in the mix. And after 2 days of intense competition and 234,000 kilometers ridden, the final riders crossed the line in North America. The results were in. Despite valiant efforts across the world to unseat them, Japan clung to the top of the table. 1 hour, 15 minutes, and 56 seconds brought them in third, with an average watts per kilo of 3.58. The second step of the podium belonged to the Belgians, with 225 riders posting an impressive average time of 1 hour, 15 minutes, and 36 seconds. But the winner of the inaugural Nations Challenge was Sweden. Their average speed of 40.04 kilometers per hour left the rest of the world fading into the distance, delivering a challenge-winning time of 1 hour, 14 minutes, and 58 seconds, making the Swedes the best Zwifters on the planet.